Good tea. Nice house.
Would you make me some of that Plomeek soup? Greetings and felicitations.
Hello and welcome to Plomeek Teatime number 46. We're here today to talk about Master and Commander, and today we have Scotty R37 and Admiral Teague. Great to see you guys.
Ahoy! I've never felt more comfortable saying ahoy.
Hey, exactly. Today I'll even say it. Ahoy!
Ahoy! When Scotty recommended this movie to me, presenting it as a Star Trek movie, I knew he wasn't kidding because we all know that the military organization of Starfleet is modeled after the Navy.
I couldn't agree more. It's a Star Trek movie to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you create an accurate enough seafaring film with ships or submarines, you're likely going to remind your viewers of the space adventures if they do like them. And Master and Commander delivers that in spades. And so, but there are a lot of slides, so I set them on a timer and they're just going to go. So if you need me to go back to any slide, just let me know.
Outstanding flashcards.
Yeah, they're going to flash.
This is crazy cool. I can't believe how many studios were involved in making this. This was a pet project of one of the studio heads. And they got 20th Century Fox, Miramax, Universal, I think even Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or like everyone was in on this production because there was one there was one executive who just demanded it. He demanded it.
You know what? I think you could tell by the subtitle of the first movie that they were thinking they were going to have a series, but as good as it wasn't a huge hit.
Elf beat it.
Yeah, it was disappointing. We would have had 5 or 6 Master and Commander movies by now because this was a passion project. And Paul Bettany, a.k.a. Vision, is in this movie too, along with the lead, Russell Crowe. I guess he's our co-lead.
Well, and James Darcy. We have the Agent Carter. What's the name of the butler on Iron Man?
Oh, wait a minute.
Jarvis.
That's it. We got the original Jarvis and James Darcy.
Wait, so we have both Jarvises. We have James Darcy and we have Paul Bettany.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a double Jarvis, ladies and gentlemen.
You say Bettany, I say Bettany.
Yes, tomato, whatever. I don't care.
Sabotage.
Exactly. One is my name. The other is not.
Perfect.
Well, I want to read the Admiralty orders just because I like them. Intercept French privateer Archeon en route to Pacific, intent on carrying the war into those waters. Sink, burn, or take her prize.
It might be Acheron. It's French, right?
Uh-huh.
But this, they're a great bad guy, and that kind of sets the tone for the movie. I wonder if it's the forward of the book because it's kind of just like. Very much like, just getting some orders for Starfleet Command at the beginning of a Star Trek episode.
Well, apparently this was based on novels.
There is a series of books.
Yes, Robert O'Brien.
And this is based on Far Side of the World, but it's not really specifically about any one of the books, which is kind of.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. I was going to starts at the beginning of the middle and ends in the middle of the next book is the way it was described to me.
Okay. Which is, again, it's sort of what reminds me so much, and I'm not the first person to come up with this, but it reminds me so much of a Star Trek, just because Star Trek, or at least Captain Kirk, was based on Horatio Hornblower. This is a tale of daring do with an honorable man and an honorable crew.
Speaking of which, Scotty, you told me that in this movie you think of the French fleet as the Romulans. Could you explain?
Well, they do use subterfuge and the environment to obscure their nature. Like, I just thought, I don't think that they're as aggressive as Klingons, and there is, spoilers for the movie if you haven't seen this movie.
You're right, they're not.
2003. The captains, they never meet up and fight.
That's
very
true.
Good point.
Well, we never. Yeah, it's true. We don't see much. We only see them whenever they board the ship.
I guess Sorry, the movie's from 1999. We're gonna spoil it.
Yeah, no,
towards the
spoil
middle,
it.
From 2003.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Then we got to wait 3 more years to spoil it. I'll hold off on my comment.
No, don't do that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think that we do see the bad guys as the Romulans. That's a great observation and something that I'd thought as well. So thank you for validating my thought there. But the other thing I'd say is it's really our good guys who are the ones who engage something of a cloaking device when they disguise their
Oh,
ship
yes.
as a shitbag ship.
Yes, they go and well, Scotty described it as hiding in a nebula, using the fog to obscure themselves.
Well,
Mhm.
no, the
you're talking
people
about
on
something else.
on the British boat refit and redress their ship to look like a piece of shit whaling ship, and they start generating fake smoke to make it look like they're doing whaling stuff. And when the French come on them, they say like, British whaler heave to, and then they start to fight. Like then they drop the
Yeah, that
axe
part.
and the flag goes up. Yeah, so our heroes are the ones who really use more of a cloaking device. Just interesting. Both sides do use something of cloaking technology of the 19th century.
That's true. And that worked. It worked
There you
really
go.
well. And I want to say hello to the chat.
Oh.
Hello to Mark Harkness. He says, "Ahoy, epic swashbuckling adventure ahead. So let me buckle my swash." And hello to Pop Culture Curator.
Hey, Pop.
He also says ahoy. Everybody is saying ahoy today for a good reason. And Lemon Pie. Hey, Lemon. And Canadian Spider-Man is here too. He says, "Please help Anti-Derivative Jill grow this channel by hitting the free thumbs up button to show YouTube that you like this kind of thing. Thanks, everyone."
Whoop, whoop.
And hello to James Caserta. And,
hey, Jim.
Is anyone reading this? Yeah, we can read it. You are not invisible to me, fortunately. Dalek451 says, "Hi, Jill. Can you tell me how often you use Discord?" Oh, I just used it this morning to share out the stream.
Oh, wow.
So,
hey, Dalek.
Mark Harkness says, "TOS is this period of time. A ship's captain who cannot simply call home but must be his nation in the far reaches of the ocean." Oh, yes.
Very true. Very, very true. Good observation. And Mark, by the way, I want to say to everyone, I'm sorry I'm not out there in the chat shouting you out. I'm having a little bit of computer problems, but I do want to say hi to all of you. And Mark, I think we cleared up that misunderstanding on my channel. You should be able to just show up there. We're swatting bots, and sometimes real people get caught up in it. So we apologize to the amazing Mark Harkness.
Yeah, Mark Harkness is great. He says this movie is too good for many to understand.
He might be right. He might be right.
Yeah, I know. I know why you're laughing. Gorilla's Random Thought says, "Hey, I'll be lurking because if we work fast enough, we might be done early. Thanks for quadrupling my money on a lottery ticket with Tuesday's stream." What did I do on Tuesday?
F-bomb?
I don't know, but can you do it for me?
Did I?
I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket. I'll be right back.
No. Yeah, I guess I must have cursed. I don't remember.
Hell, Tiki of Doom.
Yeah, hello. He says, "Great Star Trek movie."
It really is. Another great Star Trek movie would be Troy, and we could debate that later, but to me it is.
And Mark Harkness says the
Acheron. There you go.
The Acheron is really a representation of U.S. war of 1812 frigate USS Essex and USS Constitution.
I would tend to agree. The Constitution is unique, though, because it's built with live oak, which was considered crazy at the time, but they just cranked it out as fast as they could. Didn't have time to wait a year for the wood to cure.
Well, and in the production of the movie, that's an actual factual because it was still going to be like based on the novels. It would be a British ship. It was originally set during 1812, but they didn't want American sailing ships to be the villains of the film. They thought it wouldn't appeal to an audience. Now, apparently this is apocrypha, but just in terms of the production stuff that I went and I looked through, it was like, now let's make the bad guys the French. We don't want the Americans to be the bad guys. Don't you get it? Guess who's buying the tickets?
Your good guys are the British, so you can just swap the Americans out for the French. But I've been on the USS Constitution when I was down in Baltimore a couple of years back, and it's still the unofficial flagship of the U.S. Navy. Did you know that?
I did. I did not know that.
It was incredible, and as you can see, even in this picture, the amount of rigging and ropes and all the other things it took to sail a modern ship. We can see why a lot of mutinies didn't go anywhere. If you're the captain, you keep key information about how to sail the ship to yourself, like how to locate where you are and other things. Keep your crew in line like that. This is an amazing part of the movie and very Star Trek. They have no wind, and they're using the rowboats to drag themselves in a different direction into the wind or something.
Doesn't work out.
Sailing ships can't really sail into the wind until around the time of our Civil War.
Well, from what I understand, you don't spit into the wind. You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim.
Because the south side of Chicago is the toughest part of town. Exactly.
Well, that is also one of his songs, yeah.
And hello to Darius Munchausen. And just like Star Trek, you'll find some joy listening to the seafaring jargon used to operate the ship, and sometimes and relate it to. You can also relate it to the show. During our watch, for example, we noticed things like when the helm was unresponsive, or there was a hull breach, an engineering kind of situation.
Oh, yeah.
Red alerts, and of course, going into a nebula when they go into the fog. And it uses, of course, the movie uses its own realistic sailor terminology. And if I had more time, I would have gone off to learn some of it. But actually, this movie is great enough that I want to learn more of it. But much of the time, you could tell what they meant through the context of the situation.
It's really rewatchable. It would have been on TV a lot more if Russell Crowe hadn't gotten himself in some trouble and ruined the publicity tour. And that and the underperforming, I'm sorry, created a perception that the movie wasn't quite worth seeing. I don't know why it's not on TV more, because it's a pretty good movie.
Well, and Teague, what was the difficulty with the production, the promotional tour when it came to Russell Crowe?
If Jill wants me to tell the story, I will.
Yes, please do.
During the publicity tour for this movie, I believe it was this movie, because he had a few. Russell Crowe's like red hot at this point. So he's just going from place to place with 3 irons in the fire. And I believe he was doing this movie's publicity, and he was here in New York City. And back, I don't know how many people know this, but back in 2002, putting through a call to the other side of the world was difficult and involved the use of an arcane technology known as the landline. And he was trying to call Australia. There's like a 12-hour time difference between where he was and where they were. And they tried to put the call through. It didn't go through, or someone didn't pick up. And rather than just sliding down the wall to the floor like Pink in The Wall, when he was told the call didn't go through, he started beating up the person who told him with the phone. So he's not allowed back in New York for like a few years.
Well, that's for a sound reason. And I've always seen the parody on South Park.
Pun intended. He beat him up with the phone for a sound reason. Absolutely sound.
Okay, come on. Seriously, do I have to be the voice of reason here? If something doesn't go your way, please do not pummel the service staff with inanimate objects. Just don't.
And what you yell at them while you're doing it will make it worse. So just, if you have to attack someone, keep your fucking mouth shut. You're already taking it too far.
Oh no, did he say sugar tits? It seems Australian.
He said a word that starts with F.
Francesco.
It wasn't franchise.
Yeah, the South Park parody where they have a little song saying making movies or something and fighting around the world. And so now I know what that means.
Yes.
Got it.
And also, if you notice, this is the time where all of a sudden Russell Crowe cools off, because Mel Gibson had just gotten in trouble too. And they're like, maybe all Australian actors like have this problem. Maybe we shouldn't hire Heath Ledger. It kind of was like, because it was not too far removed from the Mel Gibson incident.
Sounds like a generalization of an entire population, but okay, if that was the decision making, then all right.
I'll make a generalization right now. Most people in Australia are descended from criminals on both sides of their family, according to the British Crown.
Well, when I was there, they seemed friendly to me.
You had to commit a crime to be sent there, though, didn't you?
No. I went of my own free will. I'm the insane
We're talking
one.
about when it was settled, Scotty. The Botany
Oh.
Bay Colony. What was that? Was that a vacation resort?
No, that's a place that you run away and hope to God that you don't get caught from Khan.
No, it was actually a jail. Remember? A penal colony on the shores of Australia. Well, you got to know the Star Trek lore, Scotty. It's in Space Seed. Come on. That's Space Seed stuff.
No, I understand. I was kind of playing with you. I didn't know that we had to go for flashcards of math.
And Mark Harkness in the chat says, in particular, USS Essex rampaged the British whaling fleet. Its captain was David Porter, and aboard was his adopted son, David Farragut.
Wow, so that would be David Farragut would probably be the inspiration for the real ship, the Farragut, and the Star Trek ship, the Farragut, that exists in a couple of different Star Trek continuities. But the only one that counts is the real one, and there is a Farragut mentioned in the real Star Trek.
There is.
That was from Obsession.
Hail James T. Kirk. We love you.
Hey, Obsession's going to be the episode for Tuesday.
Nice.
And Hungry will be here.
Bird of Prey 5 gets it. It's a penile colony.
Oh, Kapla, Bird of Prey.
Hail Bird of Prey 5.
And also hello to JT Kirk. He says, lurking while working. I love this movie, especially the Weevil joke. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, choose the lesser.
Yeah, no, Jill, you get to do that. Do you have that
Choose
quote?
the lesser of two evils. Yeah. Oh,
we got plenty
quotes.
of time, but you have to do the story from Nelson.
I can get the quotes.
Great.
Just a minute.
Oh, just that one. But that's
well, I have to get the whole movie.
I do appreciate it. You know, it's always fun because this is one of those movies that I see. I think I first saw it. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it with my dad. And I was like, this is going to be like 3 hours and it's all going to be boat people. And I watched it and I was like on the edge of my seat. The performances are fantastic. There's a lot of stuff that happens through this. I can understand how it's kind of like watching a book, but I do enjoy watching some books if they're good. This is great. It's got action and it's got exploration.
If it's like watching a book, then I'm going to enjoy it more, actually. That enhances it for me.
It is probably like watching a book. I did see it with my father, but I think what we all appreciated the most was there are absolutely no female characters in this movie.
Incorrect. There
are
some female characters. They find
but they don't have any
we see Brazil. We see some female whales or something like that, or maybe some female fish. I do not remember any women. We do see some. Okay.
Yeah, no, they're in Brazil. They're great.
They stop off. They stop off to replenish their supplies.
Darn it! Now this movie just went down a half star for me. Women in it, gosh, I believe in Shakespearean acting. A man should play a woman on stage, like in the original production of Romeo and Juliet.
No, but it's one of those things that I really appreciated because, like, one of the ladies at the port in Brazil gives Russell Crowe's Captain Aubrey the eye, and it's obvious that he's flattered. And he's like, "Well, if I weren't captain of this ship," and it's just one moment that ties it more to Star Trek, and it's like, nope, he has one love.
You want to tie it more to Star Trek? He's breaking up Boimler's mother's marriage while he's doing this as well by dating Meg Ryan underneath Dennis Quaid's nose.
Oh, dude, that is very meta, and I appreciate that's a swing for the fences, and quite frankly, I think it's a home run.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Scotty.
True story, because at this time, Proof of Life, or at least around this time, I think this is the 1999 movie that you're referring to.
There's an overlap.
There is an overlap.
Lou Diamond Phillips is it Proof of Life, right?
I hate to say I haven't seen Proof of Life. I only know the tabloid stories of Proof of Life.
It's not bad.
I know Lou Diamond Phillips. He was in Stand and Deliver. I love that movie.
He's my cousin.
Oh, what?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Like when I say things like I went to Jackson Roy Kirk High School on Rigel, I'm kidding.
Okay, so
or am I?
Mark Harkness says, in particular, the USS Essex rampaged. Oh wait, I already read that one. Sorry. Darius says their double triangular sail pointed down toward the bow was ingeniously simple.
Yeah, it's a stabilizing sail.
And Scotty, could you read this one from Mr. Angel?
Can I just say hello to my friend, Mr. Angel, who's pals with Snail Messiah quickly first? But Scotty, take it away. Sorry.
No, please. You started. Please, after you.
Mr. Angel is an amazing guy who has had the backs of all good YouTubers and recently checked out some mysterious analytics for us without charging us and passed on information. We love you, Mr. Angel. You're a credit to the whole community.
Mr. Angel says in the chat, one of the best naval history movies ever. This movie is highly underrated. The sheer amount of authenticity and effort is mind-blowing good. This is one of my top 10 best movies of all time. Holy wow. Dude, I would put it in like top 30, but if you're saying top 10, hey, I raise a flagon.
Well, yeah, even though the rum was supposed to be saved for what day was it?
I don't know.
Saluting day.
Yeah,
We'll
I guess I have to be
drink wine. We'll
Taco
drink wine
Tuesdays.
on saluting day.
And the captain sings Heart of Oak.
And Lemon Pie also says the movie has a nice soundtrack.
I agree. All the movie's music is appropriate to that period, or at least to being movie music. And part of the soundtrack is the captain and the doctor like to jam, so to speak, with their violin and cello. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. That shows their culture and
what
they do for downtime.
Anyone who's ever played music and who's been in a collaborative environment playing with another person or a band knows that there's not too many other mental and physical sensations that can equal it. And you become closer to people that you play music with than maybe anyone else in your life.
That is what I read in the Monkees autobiography.
I think Keith Richards and Mick Jagger prove it. Yeah.
When you can find somebody who can jam with you with synchronicity.
Yeah. And it was made obvious, subtly obvious by the director. Does a great job that these guys are thinking on the same wavelength, and it's a level of consciousness that people who don't play music and don't collaborate on music cannot unlock, because you must be playing music with another person to feel that way.
And every once in a while, I haven't started reading from it yet, but I found this book on archive.org called "The Making of Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World." Tom McGregor. I haven't read it yet, but it's 180 pages long. If anybody ever wants to go check that out, you can borrow it.
Research.
I haven't done the research, so I'll be reading randomly from this book every once in a while.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. And so there's one page that does talk about the soundtrack. Let's see what it says. If I can make this a little bigger.
Believe the music they're jamming to could only be from the Baroque period, right? Because we're at the end of it at this point.
We're at the end of what?
I don't know.
The music that they themselves play when they play music would be classified as either sea shanties when the crew does something like sings, which I don't recall if they do or not. But when the captain and the doctor jam, the style of music they're playing is known as Baroque music.
Well, the people who were listening to them said that, the screeching again, nothing you can dance to.
Because they were uncultured sailors, and the sailors playing the instruments were only just so good. You know what I mean? Well, they had real jobs.
Also, just to interrupt, there is a sea shanty, quite a famous sea shanty, that is sung by, oh my God, Robert Shaw in Jaws, Quint. Oh, you Spanish ladies. You Spanish ladies of Spain. There's totally sea shanties in this. So if you're a fan of sea shanties, I highly recommend. In fact, there may be one that you recognize.
Is donkey riding in this for a second too?
So
I don't know.
I don't know either, but the book says here, almost everyone in the cast and crew remarks on Peter Weir's playing of music, an eclectic range from Pink Floyd to Mozart on set, often very loudly. For soundtrack searching, scene setting, soul lifting, and even for preempting discord, everyone volunteers a reason, but it's the effect that's most interesting. Imagine preparing for a battle scene with the classical overture blasting through the gun ports.
It's like our star just beat someone up with a telephone for no reason. Well, music soothes the savage beast. Let's have some Mozart on set from now on.
Well, there was a reason.
Let's see here. Darius says, I know you know. They sailed to Hawaii with dogs at least 100 years ago.
I think he's talking. Are you talking about the Polynesians in the outrigger canoes, or are you talking of the Europeans? Both are true.
Lemon Pie says, you might say Russell Crowe boned it in that day.
The dial of destiny. He tried to dial a number in Australia, didn't get through, and wrecked his career for 5 years.
Canadian Spider-Man says the soundtrack and all the sound effects won an Oscar and were really effective in transporting us into that world at the time. Master and
I
Commander?
agree.
Oh, yeah. That would be
Yeah.
a
No,
good thing to do.
in terms of in terms of the awards, heavens.
Yes, please tell us about the awards that this movie won. This is a good
Peter
time
Weir
for that.
won the BAFTA for Best Director, and I think it was best. 10 nominations at the 76th Academy Awards, and it won for Best Cinematography and Best Sound Editing.
Hello, Dalek 451.
Yeah, hello, Dalek.
Hello, Dalek.
They settled Australia because they no longer had Georgia. JT Kirk says prisoners are prison guards on both sides. Sounds fishy. Okay. And Canadian Spider-Man says, I visited one of the original penal colonies in Port Arthur, Tasmania, Australia. I did a candlelight night tour of the prison, and it was spooky.
Oh, Canadian Spider-Man. I was in Fremantle, and that's where we found out about that prison. I did that prison tour. And apparently they just, the boat showed up, they crashed it, and the first order of business was, all right, prisoners, build your prison.
Yeah, use the pieces of the ship.
Botany
Bay. Botany Bay. Well, no, Botany Bay.
The only prison tour I did was an audio tour of Alcatraz.
Ooh.
My prison tour was a little more impromptu and lasted only until I came up with $10,000, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Mark Harkness says, modern writers pay attention. Crewmen do not tell the captain how to run his ship.
Well, and there's a great moment in this where the recently promoted second lieutenant, who unfortunately meets his demise later, but second lieutenant Mowat, he's walking past the crew, and one of them doesn't reciprocate the equivalent of salute. I don't know what the nautical term for it would be. And Captain Aubrey is like, put that man in chains right now and bring Mr. Mowat to my quarters. And he just says, what the hell are you doing? You walked past that guy, and he did not give you your regimental respect. You have to respond. I can't do it for you. I cannot take care of you. You have to govern when other people disrespect you. And he's like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, well, you didn't. You failed the lieutenant test twice. And he's like, I know.
Right.
And it's just, no, but this is part of the reason. It's people doing their jobs, and it's not unfair, but it's also, as Riker said in Star Trek Generations, bad food, brutal discipline, no women.
I enjoyed the sequence where they tried to develop Mr. Is it Moet or is it Moet, like the wine? I mean, like the champagne. I forget.
No, he would be distinctly Anglo.
Right.
He wouldn't be
French. All right. Well, okay. I'm just trying to remember how they spelled and pronounced his name, but I will remember that character. Okay. So what happens is we start to find out that the other guys in the ship sort of are beginning to think he's bad luck, and that's why people aren't saluting him. And I think what happens is Captain Aubrey realizes if this isn't quelled right away, it's going to get out of control. And this guy is lying down for disrespect, which cannot be allowed on a British naval ship where you're out there for months at a time, maybe a couple of years.
And that's
they
why
might not go home for 2 years.
That's why he gets whipped.
Right.
Oh,
well,
yeah,
he can't let it go. He can't let it go. Also, I think he paid extra for the whipping. But the point is, that's why he can't let it go. We might not get back home for 2 years. I don't have time to go through a general court with you. I'm going to have you tied to the rigging and flogged. I have to do it.
Then they do salute him after that occurs.
Yes.
I have seen Cabin Boy, and I am friends with Ann Magnuson.
But I guess.
So we're just skipping ahead? Okay.
What? Skipping ahead?
Well,
what?
there was
Nothing,
I was
nothing,
reading I was addressing a chat, but hadn't we agreed we were going out of order?
Oh, yeah, no, we can go out of order if you'd like, but if you do read something from the chat and respond to it, please read the chat and the person who said it. That way I know who you're talking to and what you're talking about. And so it shouldn't just sound like, thank you.
When it came up on the screen, I thought it was just prompted. I'm sorry. I'll do
that's
better.
Okay. Oh, you're responding to this.
No one's going to walk past me without saluting again, Jill.
Canadian Spider-Man says, has anyone seen Roger the Cabin Boy or Seaman Staines? Captain Pugwash? Do you know what that is?
I thought he meant Cabin Boy with Chris Elliott.
Chris Elliott. Yeah.
Rick Elliott, great cameo by Ricky Lake. I'll have you fucking laughing your ass off.
Oh,
it's literally 2 seconds. Everyone's in it.
You
David Letterman with it. He's got selling sock puppets by the sea.
Oh no,
JT
Kirk! What are you doing, JT Kirk? He says 2023 Disney reboot. A 14-year-old strong female midshipwoman becomes captain, as the only one strong enough to fight the patriarchal France, and is the key to everything. Oh no!
I thought they already canceled the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
There will be a pirate movie with Johnny Depp. It's just not going to be Pirates or Disney, is my prediction, because you can't copyright that shit. If I'm Sony, I'm on the phone right now. We'll bring back everybody you liked and make it Captain Jack, Bluebird, whatever you want. Keith's only got like 5 more years. What do you say? You want to do this or not? And he's going to do it. Personal prediction.
Well, and one of the things that was sort of a card against Master and Commander is that the excitement and daring do of Pirates of the Caribbean. People said, well, they're used to this kind of pirate movie. They don't want this kind of seafaring movie, which was,
turned out to be slightly prophetic. People reacted much better to the pirate movies, and this movie was a great also ran, unfortunately. Mark Harkness in the chat says, woman, Mr. Churchill, would you do a talk on the traditions of the Royal Navy? Madam, the traditions of the Royal Navy are rum, sodomy, and the lash. All right. Man, probably true. But there is a Churchill ancestor on the Bounty, so.
Oh, okay.
I think that's why Mr. Churchill's relevant. And he was First Lord of the Admiralty in World War I.
And Mr. Angel says, I say top 10 because of the immense effort that went into the research and brutally honest depiction of the difficulties of the Age of Sail. I appreciate such an effort immensely. Historians love it, and I love it too for that reason, because it isn't there aren't many battles in this movie, and I think that's wonderful because it's more of a realistic depiction of what life was like.
We find out that their day-to-day lives are actually just as interesting as a battle, something that, modern writers would do well to take heed of. What do? They explore. Oh my God, they go to a planet and explore. It's an archipelago, but the same thing.
It is the same thing. The Galapagos was a new place.
And poor Paul Bettany, he goes to the Galapagos, he cracks the idea of what evolution is and doesn't get to go anywhere with it because he has to burn his notes because they have to move to the next ship. And 80 years later, Darwin figures it out. But they're there first and he puts it together. That's one of the coolest parts of the movie, right before Paul Bettany meets with some bad luck.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, was when the kid, Blakely, he's drawing in his little book and he draws the seals going, arr, arr, arr.
But I absolutely agree with you, Admiralty, in terms of the day-to-day life and the day-to-day going on. If you're going into this looking for sort of naval battles, you're going to learn some things. Like they do, Stephen, the ship's doctor, what's his last name? Maturin? Sure.
Maturin, yeah, that's right.
Dr. Maturin, he does a replacement of during this battle. there's a gentleman who gets a concave fracture in his skull, and it's like he's gonna die. But the next morning, Dr. Maturin, Stephen, ends up being like, all right, I can fix this. And so it's like everyone is watching because he has to do it on the deck because he needs the light. And it's like, is that his brains? And he's like, no, that's the skull I have to remove. So he removes the skull fragments that are in his, like in the front, like above his eye, just near his hairline. What is left? He's an older gentleman. And they remove the skull. And then Stephen looks up and he says, those are his brains. And everyone's ooh, and they lean in. And so then he takes a coin and puts it in so it'll like repair, make sure that this guy doesn't die. It's amazing.
And we can get the joke out of that. We can get the joke out of that. He had a 10-cent brain.
Yeah, and you don't know how this brain surgery is going to play out until later when he finally speaks.
Yes. Like
Paul
even,
Bettany's
and again, this is mundane medical. This is just what you do to make people survive. Like this is triage. That's what.
Well, back then you didn't have to get a doctorate to become a doctor.
Just
right, but Paul Bettany's doctor is what, maybe 100 years more advanced than anybody else. He's really good. If you get hurt around him, your chances of surviving are higher. He's shown to be a really good doctor who cares about his men. And there's a surgery scene that absolutely has me at the edge of my seat for the whole 10, 12 minutes that it goes on. It's really intense.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about when he performs the surgery on himself.
I guess we're just about there in the movie anyway. After getting shot, the doctor, there's no one else on the ship qualified enough to do surgery.
Well, right. So there's that one officer who's looking in a book of that's about the human body, and yeah, you're not going to figure that out very quickly. Yeah, so I'm glad that he decides to do the work on himself.
And what they have to do in a very excruciatingly painful scene, and I don't mean painful to watch. I mean, you can feel his pain. The man has been shot, and they've got to bring him ashore so that he can operate on himself in a place where it's steady, right? Because he can't plant his feet. He has to do it on himself. And they're holding mirrors up on this beach while he does the surgery on himself. And Paul Bettany's performance is absolutely incredible. He's doing it all backwards with no anesthesia, and he finally pulls it off. And then what goes through my mind is, how did no sand blow in there? But wow, it was an incredible scene where he's just looking in the mirror, doing surgery on himself as they're holding it up over his, I believe he takes the wound in his stomach, and the operation revolves around, you've got to find the piece of my shirt that went in there or I'll die. Mm-hmm. So they're looking around for that, and they match it up to the hole in his shirt, and it's perfect. And they're like, all right, we got it all.
Well, you're mentioning my favorite part of this movie, which is when they first decide to go to the Galapagos. And I did want to mention that we do have someone in the chat who's been to the Galapagos Islands. He's a Canadian Spider-Man.
It's Canadian Spider-Man.
And I've always wanted to go there too, so maybe someday. But I remember getting outraged the first time watching this movie because I was like, hey, they could have restocked a bit. They could have restored some water or whatever. And so I was getting upset about that, especially when they have that scene where the doctor talks to the captain, talking about how the captain could sail around and he could walk through, but the captain thinks that Stephen's going to spend too much time researching and not make it in time. And well, so I guess, yes.
When we watched it and you were like, so what? Just because he gets shot in the belly, he gets to go to the Galapagos? And it was like, no, he does say in the movie, he's like, we can't do this on the ship. This is a very delicate operation. I can't have the movement of the ship. If this is going to work, you're just going to slaughter me.
Yeah. I'm going to have to operate on myself. And, he said I can't operate. He's like, I can operate on someone else on the ship, but I have to operate on myself here. You know, this is not me standing over someone else. It's going to be painful, and I can't have the ship moving too. And he does do a good job of selling the fact that he barely pulls off that self-repair. It's not exactly the Terminator fixing himself in the mirror. This was some serious self-repair.
Well, and also the
Mhm.
man who
Es-
holds the knife is his best friend on the ship.
Especially if you've ever performed actions in front of a mirror, you lots of times you do the opposite thing of what you're intending, and so the fact that he could do surgery that way, that's pretty incredible.
Well, and the order of the day in this time period is survival. Like, how are we going to make it so that we live? You're a valuable member of the crew. This ship would be lost without its doctor.
Oh
You'd
yeah,
have to
definitely.
attack another. You'd have to attack another ship and kidnap theirs to make it home.
You'd
Well,
have way more
Honestly,
deaths.
honestly.
Yeah, but
Well-
under duress, would the doctor do the work?
Well, the thing is, this ship can count on a more full crew complement of healthy sailors than your average other ship. If something hits you and breaks your leg, well, that's one thing. But he's going to keep disease to a minimum. He's going to keep problems to a minimum. He seems to have, future. He has insights that are a little more ahead of his time, and he's doing things to keep the crew healthy and doing things to make sure the ship is going to function well. Like, we have to assume that, like, while he's off screen, he's also equally dedicated, because he's shown as highly dedicated.
Yes.
You don't get any MH on this ship, so you've got one doctor, and you hope that he survives.
Right. So when he gets shot, and he gets shot not in a battle, they're messing around trying to shoot a seagull because they want some fresh food. It's
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of like
It was an
it's-
albatross.
that's what I meant. Sorry, which is a gigantic seagull. So they're
That's
trying to
true.
shoot this albatross. It really is. It's a eagle-sized seagull. So anyway, they're trying to shoot this albatross because they're so sick and tired of the replicators. I mean, the food on the ship.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, why didn't they go to the Galapagos? Because they need the turtle. But that was the impetus that got us on the island.
I believe
And I'm
they're
happy about that.
close. Aren't they closing the Acheron, but they're very
Mm-hmm.
close. And then the incident happens. It's like the captain's like, well, there's an archipelago over there. Why don't we go there? And they're like, well, that's not the best British accent, Russell Crowe, but we'll listen to you because you're in charge.
Yeah, well, I think he was pretty good.
He did a good job carrying the charisma of the role, but that's not the best English accent. I think we all heard the Australian that is Russell Crowe, but it was still, I mean, it was an immersive enough movie.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so
and
too.
in terms of the story, they're in pursuit. They're chasing the Acheron, and
Right.
That's what makes it. And when Steven says, "Come on, you said we could go to the Galapagos. You said we could go to the Galapagos," and then again, it's another sort of perfect captain to medical officer interchange, and it's like, we will not divert the mission of this ship for your hobby.
That's one of my favorite scenes. And in
So-
his disappointment, this other kid who also enjoys the sciences too, he brings him a beetle, supposing it's from the islands, and he was right. And so this beetle becomes kind of
It's George. It was George Harrison.
a metaphor throughout the movie, some kind of
Well, it's midshipman Blakeney.
yes,
I just want to say this does show us the naval tradition in England at the time and in our Navy, which might strike some as strange. They had a cabin boy, a ship's boy, and he's only about 10 or 12.
These pipes are clean.
Mhm. Yeah, young kids were on the there were children on the ship, but they were there because they were trying to
There's
this
one
kind of thing
child,
happened
and he's
back
there
then.
because they wouldn't have gone out to sea without a kid. They would have been like, you have to hang out till we can get you a kid. Honestly, that was part of their tradition.
And also, I think that it is worth
actually
noting.
that was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite is when all the kids are having their lessons in navigation.
Yes.
So what is the thing that was worth noting?
Well, and just in terms of the age of the people who were in the military at the time, you're 15, good. Like, we need bodies. We need to train you. You need to know a life at sea. You need to know what it's like to be a part of this. Being a man was not being 18. Being a man was as soon as you were able to lift something enough and you could make some money, we're kicking you out of the house at the age of,
6.
13, 12.
Yeah, I
8,
think
7.
they made some kind of implication that the captain of the ship was also around the same age as the boy when he
What?
broke his arm.
Yeah.
And so he worked under the captain worked under the Captain Nelson, and so he gives the little boy a book about Nelson, And I thought that was a good tie-in to
That was
the
a
fact
great.
that he started when he was a teen too.
Now, I had heard this in a tradition of the British Navy history that I saw probably on YouTube. So take it with a grain of salt, as they say. But I believe that the reason why we had the kids on the ships was there was a lot of people ending up unable to take care of their children in England. So you would sneak onto the naval ship in the middle of the night and simply leave the baby underneath the cannon, from which the term "son of a gun" allegedly comes from. And then the Navy would in turn around and take care of these children, but expect naval duty from them. And a lot of them were the sons of sailors.
Mhm.
It's it's one of those. I think it was Mark Harkness who said earlier in the chat, who said, there is a certain level of understanding of time frame, and like you have to be a sort of empathetic, intelligent individual to enjoy this film, just so that you can displace yourself out of time and understand the history of the situation. Like, I do enjoy the character interactions, the rank structure, the difficulties of all of this. As you said, Jill, it's like, can we land and get food and water? And the answer is, if the captain says no, the answer is no. And we see a scene below decks. I'm not going to say lower decks, below
You
decks.
can though.
And
You can. Oh
I
yeah.
understand. But it's just like, and they're like, oh my God, I would give anything for water. And there's an argument above deck, and it's like, and Captain Aubrey says to Stephen, he's like, I cannot make it rain. There are many things I can do, but this is
Everybody in the audience snickered when he said that because of the saying of the time that was still around, "Make it rain."
So like, he even blows on a concierge's face with like a telephone. Is that why I can't make it rain?
Make it rain is when you throw a bunch of money up in the air.
Well, I've never had a bunch of money.
Mr. Angel has 3 great chats in a row. If you want to look at the 12:44 timestamp on
Oh
your
yeah, I
time.
do know about that. But right now, I'm at Mark Harkness says Captain Aubrey is actually a toned down version of Royal Navy Captain Thomas Cochrane. Yes, I said toned down. And then we get Mr. Angel's 3 comments. Would you like to read them?
I would love to read on behalf of my amazing friend, Mr. Angel. One of 3 says, Mr. Angel in our chat, when the British visited Tahiti, the sailors really fast found out they could get certain favors from the female population for a nail. They depleted the spare nails, the amount of spare nails in record time. That would be 1. 2 of 3 from our friend Mr. Angel in the chat. The captain had to leave fast because the crew was starting to take nails from the ship in such a way that actually threatens the ship. Laughing emoji. French arrived and disassembled the ship in record time.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Is that where the term "I'm gonna nail her" came from? And 3 of 3, friend Mr. Angel in the chat says, English ship threatening Spanish ship. Give us all your nails or we open fire. Spanish ship, you'll never get our gold. But wait, did you say nails? English, you heard us?
Wow, that's great, Mr. Angel. I haven't heard that story, but there's lots
Good
of
stuff.
seafaring stories I haven't heard. I need to read them.
I can't imagine a sailor would put his life in danger for sex, could you?
Well, Canadian Spider-Man says the Galapagos Islands are like another planet. They are so far out in the middle of the ocean, and the wildlife is so unique that it feels otherworldly indeed. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's only about 5 miles from the horizon on this simulation we call Earth. Now, as we know, the Earth is flat, and the Galapagos are close to the edge. So, Spidey, could you see the plexiglass coming down to the edge of the ocean there, at the edge of the world?
Well, we do know the world is not flat, but good joke.
You say that.
Mr. Angel says
the Earth is not flat. The Earth is round. The moon now, that thing's flat.
Mr. Angel says, hence the term "getting nailed." History is funny.
Wow, Mr. Angel, I perceived your thought. It's nice to be in the same headspace as someone like Mr. Angel.
And Tiki Doom says, now I'm picturing the Rick Berman version of this movie.
Or the Joel Schumacher version.
As long as it's not the Brandon Braga version of this movie, we'd have monsters. Self-repair without anesthesia.
Yeah, he's in a lot of pain, and he sells it well. He doesn't overdo it. That's a tough thing to do from an acting perspective, in my opinion. Now, I don't know what it's like to be an actor, but I have lied in my life, and I have pretended to be hurt to gain an advantage, and it's not the easiest thing to pull off.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Angel says, on those times, a lot of patients died due to the shock of the operation. Anesthesia was one of the most important inventions in medical history. Yeah, before they just had liquor if they could realize that using that would be good.
And this is why we have to remember that people who abuse opiates are committing a crime against sick people by having their own sickness demean and dilute the ability of these drugs to be prescribed to those who truly need them. Some people do need them.
Yeah, agreed. Canadian Spider-Man says, what do you guys think? They would have killed for a steam room and a hot coffee machine on that boat, like modern-day Alaskan crab fishing boats.
He's right. That's why every ship in the U.S. Navy has a really good coffee maker and an ice cream machine inside of it.
Ice cream, nice. Ice cream for my coffee.
It's soft ice cream, and a lot of times what the captain will do is, or what they'll do is they'll put some soft chocolate ice cream into the cup, and then put the coffee into it to make like a cafe latte. Or it also works equally well with the vanilla ice cream. And a shout out to my godson Michael Andrew in our nation's Navy right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out to him. Thank you for your service, Andrew.
And don't get that tattoo you put on Facebook the other day. It did not look cool. I don't care how Italian we are.
Mr. Angel says they would have sold you their mother and grandmother for a modern ship, Canadian Spider-Man. However, there is the issue of getting fuel in that era.
Not if you have a nuclear carrier, but yes.
Yeah, right. That kind of thing's going to fit.
We only have 200 years worth of fuel, sir.
And yeah, hello to Jim's Landscape LLC. Great to see you here today.
Hi, Admiral Teague. Thank you. Commodore Boone, Admiral's compliments. Thank you for acknowledging me.
Mark Harkness says Farragut was 12 on Essex and put in charge of a captured prize. A captured captain refused to obey. A large sailor was summoned, and the man was told that he'd be thrown overboard if Farragut was not obeyed.
You know, this is a typical story of the 19th century and 18th century navies. Now, we don't know if it's true. I've seen the videotape, but it was shot on a 1777 iPhone, so the picture's a little grainy. But the story goes that John Paul Jones, known by many as the bass player of Led Zeppelin and others as the father of the American Navy, was in a battle, and they were getting their asses handed to them, and one of his sailors tried to lower the colors, and Jones turned around and just capped the guy and went on with the battle. He just blew one of his own guys away for trying to surrender and said, the other guy's like, what are you thinking? And he just yelled to them, we have not yet begun to fight.
Wow.
Do not disobey your captain. That's one of the things about New Trek that makes me so sick. That captain just sits there getting yelled at and eventually agrees with whatever he's told to do.
Well, not only that,
indecisive loser.
I've only watched season 1 and 1.5 episodes of season 2, and one of the things that I keep noticing is when I think this is what the captain should be doing, somebody else is doing it.
Una does it.
It's never the captain.
It's usually Una or Ortegas.
Well, in some certain cases, it just depends. Like when I thought that the captain should go to engineering during that musical thing, it was Uhura who went instead.
Of course, it's a woman every time. If you look at that show, it has a rule. There have to be 4 or 5 women on screen for every man to cancel out the toxicity. Watch and tell me I'm wrong.
I can't because they don't have very many men in a prominent role on that ship.
They're outnumbered, and if we want to say it this way, the Federation, which is now evil, a problem, and will not let anyone help anyone, is completely ran by women. So, you know what? Let's get a man in charge there, because it's an evil matriarchy in New Trek.
Well, and everybody knows that Spock has to be a big character, but then all they do is just
Oh
dump
my
on
God.
his complete character,
Bipolar.
and that is the worst. But
You know,
anyway,
bipolar disorder isn't a
we're not.
joke, but new Spock is. Spork is the worst.
He is. He
It's
is.
not Spock.
No, he's not even Vulcan because he can't even control his emotions. I don't understand
fact-
this because he decided to choose the Vulcan path when he was only 7 years old, and this series just completely ignores it.
The episode where he becomes completely human because of space magic that's done off screen and explained to us later, like every single thing on this show, it just has already happened, and they tell us that we can't understand how it makes sense. He's completely human for one episode. He's calmer. He's more well-reasoned. He's less prone to emotional outbursts. He just has no impulse control. Like he eats 5 pounds of bacon in once. He's like, it's bacon.
Even if you suddenly become, well, even if you suddenly change your species, if you've been vegan or
But he didn't
vegetarian
change.
your entire life, you wouldn't change what you want to eat. Just
you would also
like
get
that.
very
It's
sick
really
because you
weird.
hadn't eaten meat in a long time. It takes a while to adjust back. But the point is this: one, check out Spock's mom. She's 5 years younger than him, but she's very attractive. It's bizarre. The casting is bizarre, and that episode of Strange New Worlds. Here's the thing: Spock had already been half human all his life. How come he had no context? It was just dumb.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. No, that's okay. No problem.
I'm still recovering from this nightmare.
Well,
the show only ended yesterday.
I didn't see the nightmare. I saw 1.5 of the gimmick episodes, and that's it.
I
Mr.
just want to
Angel.
thank everyone who's come to me to get the New Trek information rather than watching the show. All of you. I love you all. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
definitely. Thank you for that. Mr. Angel says during World War II, the U.S. Navy had a series of ships dedicated to bringing ice cream to the troops. Those were so immensely popular that they were branded essential to the morale of the fleet.
That's why they have the machines on every single ship now. He's absolutely right. The U.S. Navy believes that. And if you watch the beginning of Academy Award-winning military movie Patton, he says in the speech in the beginning of the movie, which is put together from real Patton speeches, he yells at them, "You're the best fed army in the world." And he says it very profoundly. Up until this time, like army food was just like, here's a piece of leather. Eat it.
Yeah, and that's what the kid had to go through when he had his broken arm.
Right.
Mr. Angel says one of the regular shenanigans of the fleet personnel was stealing ice cream from other ships. Imagine being an ice cream pirate.
By the way, they had pilots risking their lives to bring ice cream to the soldiers in Vietnam. My father said that he always enjoyed that little break, but he said that he used to like to soak his feet in the ice cream rather than eat it. Cooled his feet off.
Oh my goodness, I am still early in this movie. I need to get through some of the scenes a little quicker.
Saving Star Trek will be on a little late today.
But no, actually, I have to leave at a set time because school is back on. So
Saving Star Trek at 4:20 Eastern.
Yeah, no, you'll be able to start your show at 4:20 Eastern. You'll be fine for that.
It'll be fine.
Oh, here's this surgery, the brain surgery scene. And also,
And by the way, there's Pippin right in the middle there.
Yeah, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, so I was about to mention that. Billy Boyd.
He's the only principal cast member who did not have to wear a wig. His hair was perfect.
Yeah. His hair is perfect for a sailor and for a hobbit.
That's in the special edition of the movie. They just say it. Like, we didn't have to style him at all. He showed up from Lord of the Rings looking perfect for the role.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Your school starts like a month earlier than ours. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, we start early. I guess it's just a matter of because of our weather. We have such nice weather. We can start school early. I have no idea. I have no idea why we do that.
We start in the middle of September.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like the 5th. Sometimes a little later. we go. We're jamming on our Baroque instruments, and the captain does have a violin because the British would never call it a fiddle. And playing his cello, or as I like to call it, the bass fiddle, is Paul Bettany, Vision. Now, I just want to say WandaVision was not the best show, but the idea that a 54-year-old man should be married to a 20-year-old woman is something that everybody should embrace and spread around. Was it something I said?
Oh
No.
no! I was just muted.
I was wondering. I was like, did I get kicked? What the fuck is going on?
We are live, and we'll edit that silence out of post.
Well, if you do that, we lose the chat. So I don't know. It was like 20 seconds. It was no big deal.
All right.
We feel it. I think we all
Oh.
feel it. Don't you feel like it feels 300 times longer if you're paused for like 10 seconds? It feels like 3,000 seconds. You're like, I better do something.
Oh, that
I'm
it
not
says
afraid of
something-
silence.
Yeah, me neither. But I am when I don't have anybody here and I don't realize that I've been quiet for 5 minutes. That happened on my last show.
Yeah, Scotty, do me a favor. Go on and put on a 25-minute broadcast of just silence. See how many views it gets.
Actually, you know what? There was a guy named the Spiffing Brit, and he made a short. It was 1 second long, and he broke the algorithm and got like 30-some-odd-thousand% engagement. So you can do it. You can do it.
Oh yeah, Tim Possible made a super short, and he's got like 1 million views on it.
Good for him. Everyone go subscribe to Tim Possible.
Yeah. Wait, is he still called that? It's like Tim's Talk now.
Is it Tim's Talk?
Yeah. Oh, and it does have a note here about how there are no women on the ship. It says here, like restricting the film to sea, keeping women out of the movie was a gamble. There are women aplenty in the books. Yet, when O'Brien portrayed women on board, as he does in The Far Side of the World, it invariably signaled something toxic or calamitous. You can't realistically have a woman on board as a toxic calamity without descending into some sort of gruesome farce. What?
We came to the movies to escape, not be beat up by what happens every day in real life.
Yeah, but you can hear all about it next week on our new podcast, Sex Boat.
Well, honestly, just reading
What
that,
are you talking about?
just
We're gonna
reading that
have-
last paragraph.
We're gonna have 19th century sailing ships, and it's 50-50. It's
We've
half
got
men,
Terry
half
Hat-
women, and all they do is they have the coitus.
It's like the Love Boat. We have Terry Hatcher in a bikini by the pool, but it's Terry Hatcher now, and she's 70.
Well, just reading that last paragraph really makes me actually want to read these books. What is
The one I read was really good.
I never learned to read.
You know how to read.
There's
I've seen
audiobooks.
you.
Don't tell them, Jill.
Now you know. We know Scotty's terrible secret. Aye,
Read.
tis the root of all me criminal misdoings, like they said on The Simpsons.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, back at the boat, they realize that the hull of the Acheron is too thick for a full-on assault. They have to get really close, which is tough, or of course you can shoot them through the stern if you wish. But
Now,
that's
by
a
the
tough,
way-
that's a tough maneuver.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
a direct reference. Sorry.
Go ahead.
This is direct reference to the USS Constitution. When they made the USS Constitution, they didn't cure the wood long enough. They didn't have time. They were being attacked by the British, and it was just like, we need a boat. And the ship went to sea. And when it was fighting with the British, what happened was it was bouncing back the cannonballs and because the wood was still sort of flexible and rubbery, so the cannonballs were like coming back on the British, and the
That's
sailors were like
amazing.
absolutely astonished. Yeah, not every time. Some shots made it through if it hit the right spot, but a lot of the ship, because it was still live oak, it was still live. They didn't dry it for the whole time they were supposed to. So because it wasn't cured properly, it was repulsing some of the cannonballs. And like the guys on the Constitution were like, we're on a blessed ship. It repulses the cannonballs.
Well, and here we get Stephen as being the communications officer and the doctor. He is the one. He's an educated man.
My goodness, he's the doctor. He's the communications officer. He's the science officer. What isn't he?
We know he's really good at semaphore and read. Here's the thing: he's the one guy who knows how to read.
Damn it! That's why I didn't get his job.
That's what we call a callback joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey. Also, I want to give a big shout out to First Lieutenant Thomas Puttings.
Yeah, he actually he's the first officer, and he's there.
Hey, Matt G's here. Hello, Matt.
Hello to Matt G.
We do eventually get to see Mr. Pullings be promoted to captain, which made my heart swell with joy.
Oh yeah, that happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah, you said I could jump around.
You did.
Like
crisscross. You must jump around because I am so behind. I need to start going through some of these slides a little.
Like the song goes, we came to get down, so jump around.
No, it's not. It's not crisscross because that's just jump. It's Cypress Hill that is jump around.
Dude, jump around. Google the song.
No, I won't. I can't.
Well, there's a bit in this book about Aubrey and Maturin, and I do like their relationship in this movie, so I want to read some of this, see if I can skip around. With Jack Aubrey and Stephen Maturin, O'Brien created one of the most refined, memorable literary double acts in fiction. And O'Brien repeatedly addressed the central axis and dichotomy of their relationship that he and Jack Aubrey were almost as unlike as men could be. In nationality, religion, education, size, shape, profession, and habit of mind. So, yeah. So, apparently, one contradiction, the big, cheering, florid sea officer whom most people liked on sight, but who could never have been described as subtle or capable of subtlety by any one of them. So, let's see. There are clues from these and other extracts. About the relationship between the two men, I can do little but attempt to equal on film the power of Patrick O'Brien's words. So the surgeon supplies and narration, the ship captain provides the action. It's a fusion of opposites. If Stephen is the candle that reflects the current affairs of the air of the room, then Jack is the spark that lights the candle. I think that explains it the best.
Can I just say I have to laugh out loud every time you say O'Brien because I hear, oh, Miles.
Okay. Oh, Miles.
That was perfect.
Hashtag Keiko Pegs.
Well, yes, I asked for that, which is why I hesitated to do the impression.
Not the pegging.
We're never reviewing a movie that is associated with anyone named O'Brien again.
Oh, no, I'm totally fine with it. I love.
Yeah, why?
It was just a joke. Just a joke. No, Admiral Teague has a wry sense of humor.
Yeah, but thank
Admiral
you to
Teague
Raquel
talks about himself in the third person.
Admiral Teague does talk about himself in the third person.
It works.
Something everyone should try to do more. Well, you know what? When we decide that we have something to say, we say it the way we want to, and that's how we feel.
Oh my God, I would give good money if you would not.
I'll give you my Venmo, and I'll give Scotty my Venmo in the private chat, and then I'll stop. It's $100.
Well, actually, sometimes you also
45 cents is the top bid.
You also sound like a Tauren from Stargate, which is the good version of the Gold, who have parasites in them.
Jill has figured out where it came from. Also, royalty refers to himself in the third person, so I have every right to do it.
I suppose so. The secret of making good movies at sea, says producer Duncan Henderson, is to not go to sea.
We talked about this right before the show. They stayed close to shore so the open ocean wouldn't destroy their shoot. The ocean is one thing. Being inland, close to shore, and I live in a place called New York City, and we have two different but distinct. In the city of New York, water is handled by two different but equal bodies, one being rivers and the other being the ocean. The ocean off the north shore of Long Island is in a protected harbor, and you could go in the middle of that, and you'll only have waves 2-3 feet high. If you go off the south shore of Long Island, if you go 2-3 miles out, you're talking you could get hit with like 25-foot swells. The perfect storm will delete you if you're 5 or 6 miles off the south shore of Long Island. You'd have to flee. Open
Yeah,
ocean,
then that makes sense.
big deal. Have you ever been on the open ocean? That is scary stuff.
I have.
Scary
I have,
stuff.
and it was really cool. We actually went far enough out to get into Mexican waters, and so that was fun. And then we swam around a bit until everybody swam back to the boat as quick as possible, and I was still hanging around, and I was like, "Where did everybody go?" And there was a nurse shark coming up, just very curiously, and so that's when I decided to go back to the boat too.
Well, and that reminds me, I'm sorry, Jill, I'm going to have a personal anecdote myself. I was
Sure.
in the Indian Ocean, and I went snorkeling in like a coral
It's
reef.
the Native American Ocean, Scotty, you bigot.
No, it was actually, it's geographically in the atlas, it's referred to as the Indian Ocean. So anyway,
Right,
I was there.
because of the
Right.
country
We know.
India.
We
Because of
absolutely
India.
know. It was just a little
Oh.
bit of fun. I'm a bit of a Jilliac when it comes to that, and
Well,
an
you're back to
anti-derivative
referring yourself
Jilliac.
in the first person, so that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I got the Venmo.
I'm pleased. But yeah, so I was in the Indian Ocean, and I did snorkeling in a coral reef, and there were sea turtles and tropical fish, and that was the only time that I farted in the Indian Ocean, when I saw a reef shark, and I was like, "We're all gonna die!" And luckily, we didn't, because reef sharks don't care about human flesh. So I was really overjoyed.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
right.
so you've
Okay,
you've only farted once in your life? How have you not exploded?
in the
In the
Indian
Indian Ocean.
Ocean.
He said it was the only time he farted, was the way he put it. Phrasing's important.
No, I said the only time I farted in the Indian Ocean is what I said specifically. Roll back the tape.
Yeah, no, I was listening. I heard that
I
too.
apologize.
It was
We must have
correctly stated
we misheard you.
that your passenger gas has only occurred once in the Indian Ocean. Which is a very important thing that everybody in the chat needs to know.
You know, Admiral Teague, we sometimes miss the context.
And
Yes,
Peter Weir says, if you're making
think
a film,
you do, yeah.
if you're making a film at sea, says Peter Weir, you have to read all the books about making films at sea and learn from them. The instinct of a filmmaker is to go to sea, and you have to resist it if you can, he continues, because all those books and the people who work on those films tell you to. They tell you that the sea is an unstable platform. Anything can happen, and it's very difficult. You have to get out of there.
May I just interject?
Sure,
The movie,
please do.
well, add in context, since you had hopefully finished your statement.
I did.
The movie Waterworld was about a year delayed. And what happened was there was a difference of opinion between two different people about where to film it. And one guy was like, we can't go too far out to sea or the sets will get wrecked. So Kevin Costner was like, no, we can go too far out to sea, and I'm a good director. So he had the director replaced. They built the sets further out to sea, and the movie was 3 years late. It was destroyed every couple of days just by the ocean itself. You cannot build a set in the open ocean. And anybody here who knows anything about nautical stuff will assure you that we are correct on that one.
Yeah, so yes, you are correct with that. That corroborates the things that I'm skimming about in this book, because things can happen that you cannot control.
That's right. My pronoun is we.
Well, and also, like, this was in terms of the production of the movie. Now that we're talking about ships at sea.
Are you serious?
Oh, did you guys already talk about it?
Me? I'm not being serious.
Okay, go ahead, Scotty. Just checking.
Well, no, did we cover this? Because I don't want to,
No, we didn't. Please, we didn't cover this. Please talk about the raft.
Well, the raft. Well, this is actually
whatever you were going to talk about.
No, I'll go with the raft.
This was a brilliant military ploy.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I was watching it with somebody, and they were like, well, what good is that going to be? It's not like they're going to think that small raft is the ship. And it's like, well, all you need is 3 lanterns. And
yes. You idiots, you've never heard of forced perspective?
It's not even forced perspective. It's like when you douse the lamps in the back of what's the name of the ship again?
The Surprise.
That's it. I was Kel Surprise. Actually, no, that's
We remember.
Anachronistic. Yeah, well, thank you for writing things down. And no, but it's incredible that it's okay. So we'll just light the 3 lamps in the back of the ship, and that will guide them off. And this is before. Is this before Mr. Bellinani?
All these things happen very quickly, about the same
No.
20-minute period in the middle of the movie, I believe. We have deletion.
This is, oh my stars, what is his name? I know. Is it Thomas? No, not James Darcy. It's Thomas.
Just while you search your memory banks, I just
Peter.
want to say, if you're out at sea and you don't know how far away you are from something, it is forced perspective, because when you see those 3 lights, and I just point out there are 4 lights, but when you see those 3 lights, you don't know how far away they are. So you don't have any context. It's light in the dark on the ocean, and you're just like, well, the ship is this big and the lights are that far apart, so the ship must be X amount of distance away. So that's part of the deception.
It is part of the deception, and I do not wish to get into that particular argument.
I'm sorry. I thought we were going to talk about the plot of the movie and the things they did. We are asking your apologies. Didn't mean to bring up fact.
Well, no, forced perspective is different than distraction.
Scotty, if you're on the ocean and you have no chance to gauge perspective and you can't tell, and we deceive you like that, it's still forced perspective, unless you want to come up with a better word. But the thing is, they're also making the ship appear. It did, but it made it appear as though the ship was in a far different place, because the lights are out of sync to what they would be on a ship that size.
And it gave that kid his very first command, which is the fun of this movie, is getting to see all of these crew members get to perform their jobs in such an interesting way, and I enjoy it. And this movie, the runtime might be over 2 hours, but you barely feel it. Mr. Angel says, naval history has a special place in my heart, hence my many comments. The Dutch are really proud of their naval history and would like to have a little place called New Amsterdam, New York back. And Scotty has been so quiet, I forgot he was on the panel. Mr. Angel says, I'm a member of Spiff's channel and Discord. Oh, breaking YouTube and games for a living. Mark Harkness says this movie is set in 1805, just prior to real life. Lieutenant Stephen Decantor, captain of the USS Enterprise, led a mission aboard the USS Intrepid to burn a pirate-seized frigate, Philadelphia. And Mr. Angel says New England white oak is the stuff of legends for the age of sail shipbuilders indeed. So in other words, he's the captain's bitch? No, wait, what? Oh, whatever. Who? I don't know. Who is? Maggie says, hello. Hello. Mark Harkness says, with Constitution, it was not the curing. The ship was 15 years old, but at the mix of the white oak with live oak backing, that created the bouncing effect.
That's crazy cool, Mark Harkness. Thank you for accuracy.
Oh, and Mr. Angel has sent me 2 links in Discord for me to enjoy in the Clubhouse Discord. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Angel. I'll check that out in just a bit.
So do you have a Discord now that you want to promote?
I don't have a Discord to promote. I just hang out in there. Hello to Sean Carter. No, I just hang out in Mark D with the C's Discord and others.
That's cool.
Mr. Angel says, highly recommend those 2 videos to anyone who likes the excellent movie. Maybe I should. I don't know if I need a Discord or not. I could. I'll think about it.
At 500 members, I'm going Discord.
Herc 130. Hello to Herc 130.
Hey, a flyboy.
Yeah, and Carol Colors on Twitter. Ooh.
Yeah, totes. Speaking of Australia, that's where she is right now. Not to dox her, but it's a continent, so whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so this book has some stuff about about the movie, obviously. So little was known about the reality of life, and in particular life below decks. Not much was even known to the general public at the time, that everything had to be painstakingly researched. Here's a crazy detail, right?
It-
Offers the director Espadrillos.
Escadrille.
Well, okay, so I read things like they're
It,
Spanish, even though they're
it's
French.
French. It's French for squadron. The Lafayette Escadrille from World War One.
Those canvas shoes with rope soles that you can buy anywhere in the world, I was sure they must come from the Navy. So I began to check. We got back as far as we could and finally got in touch with the shop in Spain. And oh wow, so that's how much detail they went into that went into this movie, is that all the way down to the shoes. Weir pauses and then grins at the thought of another detail he researched: toilet paper. I won't go into that, but boy, did I go into that. A search for what they used as toilet paper. Oh,
I have
what?
I've seen many of these 18th and 19th century ships, wooden ships, and it's something to behold. But now they have fitted them out with modern plumbing. From what I was told when I took the tour, and the ship still smelled pretty bad, was that when an 18th and 19th century warship, wooden ship, would come sailing in, you would smell it several hours before it got there.
Oh my god.
It
That was a thought.
absolutely reeked.
That was definitely a thought while I was watching this movie. You have a ship full of 197 men. And oh, crap.
And they're all peeing in bottles below decks.
Where was my question? Well, I guess some of them can go off of the side of the ship, but I
They
don't
all
even
went off the
really
side of
know.
the ship when they had to do certain things, but sometimes you're like just below decks, and I guess you're peeing in a bottle. They had bed chambers and other things, even in homes at this time. So, the thing that I do remember about this is that I went on to a whaling ship from 1860 at Mystic Seaport, which is in Connecticut, not too far away, and the
Near
inside of the
Hartford?
ship. It is near Hartford, yes, and
The only
Harvard.
reason I know about it is because of the Hartford Whalers. So thank you. Keep going. I'm sorry.
The Hartford Whalers were named for that and had an awesome NHL logo, and was the last team to be played for by the great Gordie Howe, who served 6 terms as president of Canada. But the point
True
is,
story.
the ship still smelled like whale, and it hadn't been used since like 1890. The inside of the ship, I was getting dizzy from the smell of the whale blubber from 100 years earlier.
And just so you know, you were right. There were 2 ships that play. Oh, wait a minute. The Acheron, there were 2 ships. Both of them play the Surprise. Oh, wait. Okay, the Acheron aside, there are 2 ships and both of them play the Surprise. Given the criteria established during the period of research and script development, this isn't unexpected. It was imperative that some of the filming had to be at sea, hence 1 ship, whilst the majority had to be done in the controlled environment of a tank. You cannot
Yes.
transfer a full-sized ocean-going square-rigged ship from sea to tank.
May I just say, this movie is the last time we're going to really try really hard to use model ships on real water. And the problem is this: watch a movie like In Harm's Way, which I believe is free on YouTube. Just like, scroll around and look at the part with the naval combat. When the models go around in the water, a drop of water always conforms to roughly the same size. We've all seen it. Splash your hands down in water, and when the water breaks up, it ends up the same size, much as raindrops do. And this destroyed the illusion. If you look at later naval movies, the ocean is CGI. Troy comes to mind. And that CGI ocean gives you a lot more grandeur, but it's not quite as realistic as this very great practical filmmaking. But Troy, also a Star Trek-like movie.
Well, and speaking to your miniaturization of water droplets, that is something. The first time I heard about that,
that's actually straight up physics. A water drop will conform to the same size. And if you've been out in the rain, you more or less know that.
I'm going to do my best to agree with you, sir.
Wow, we have a breakthrough here.
And so the first time I heard about the miniaturization about water was when I saw the Ghostbusters audio commentary. And there's a point when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is walking across, your hometown. And
that was a terrible day in this city.
I know. So many people
And
got covered
then
in
the harvester
Smello.
alien. Then the
And
harvester
so
aliens
there's
come
a
and blow up the
point
Empire State Building. It was a drag.
where the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man steps on a water main and it bursts a fire hydrant, and so they couldn't miniaturize water, and that's when Ivan Reitman found out that you use sand to miniaturize water in that fashion, just so it looks the way. If you do it in slow motion, it will rise, like if you air cannon it up and then it drops, it'll look like droplets. So just a reason to double check my science on the Ghostbusters audio commentary, but I thought it was fascinating in terms of special effects.
Yeah, thank you, Scotty. Darius Munchausen says it really did used to be a poop deck. Wow.
Yeah, you can poop in it.
Apparently. Herc 130 says the ship would smell like Doritos, nacho chips.
Nachos. Are they yours? No, they are nachos.
And Mr. Angel wants everybody to know if anyone needs a Discord build, I do that. I build Discords in 2 hours. I build
What's the
several
rate of pay
hundred by
per
now.
hour?
I was offered it for free, but that's because we have friends of Mr. Angel on the channel. But he will be remunerated by us if he does so. At 500 subs, we're going Discord.
Delightful.
Asked and answered, right?
Yes, agreed. Darius Munchausen says, in Harm's Way on YouTube, free with ads. There is the link. Copy and paste.
John Wayne and Patricia Neal as a man and his girlfriend who talks like a man.
Mark Harkness says Tora made use of both 1-to-1 scale sets and 40-foot long models to recreate the fleets involved.
That is correct. And I believe they only had one aircraft carrier, so they had to kind of turn it around the other way and tie sandbags to it to conceal the identity, make it look like a different aircraft carrier. And the Imperial Japanese had the only aircraft carrier with a conning tower on as you fly off the deck, what would be the left side, because your engine propeller spun to the left. So you'd be dragged that way. On American ships, the conning tower or whatever, the control tower of the bridge of the aircraft carrier is always on the right. This way, your engine will pull you in the other direction if you lose control, away from the command center of the ship. We also put radar on our ships in World War II. Turned out to be a good idea.
Yeah, oh, well, definitely. The only radar that this ship has, however, are their eyeballs and their navigational tools, the little sextants, and their telescopes, and the wind. So, apart from the Galapagos landing, which was filmed uniquely for the movie on Galapagos Island, the production didn't go anywhere during principal photography. All the filming was done in Baja and on the ship. Oh, see, I'm learning this stuff as I'm reading it, so I didn't even realize they filmed in Mexico.
Oh yeah, that's where the gimbal, like the shape or the ship shaking machine was for Titanic. Was in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
But this is actually the first fictional movie that has been allowed, I suppose, permitted to film. First non-documentary film permitted to film on the Galapagos. So there's two things that have been at the Galapagos before you, Jill. Canadian Spider-Man and this movie.
Charles Darwin.
Well, yes, of course. And, beagles.
But yeah, I don't think they're allowed to hang out on the actual islands, or they found one of the ones where it was least bad from the go-to, because really any beach anywhere would have served their purpose. What we had was amazing shots of the ship sailing around the Galapagos. I don't know how much more they let them do than that, because they have a cap on the amount of tourists allowed on that island. They don't want you messing up the environment.
Well, yes, definitely. I've always wondered about that. I'm sure they had specialists and naturalists or whoever to protect the island while filming on it.
They only started to have naturalists and stuff on the island in the 60s and 70s. So there's still been damage done by previous generations who didn't, follow the most didn't follow the Prime directive, but now there is a lot more strictness in nature over the Galapagos, partly because we finally decided it was owned by, I believe is it Chile? We finally know who owns them. That was disputed for a long time.
And from the point of view of production, the real surprise was the key to the ship they would use. Although she sailed in fiction through 13 Aubrey Maturin novels, she disappeared from history, broken up in 1802, but her plan survived, drawn by dockyard shipwrights after her capture. They are to be found in the National Maritime Museum at Greenwich, London. Oh, okay, so the fictional surprise was an amalgamation of both ships and several more. So, okay, so which ships? The Irresistible and Unity. Wait.
I'm seeing the comment from Darius about the water droplet kind of backing up what we said, but the Royal Museum in London must be a fascinating place to learn about this stuff.
Definitely. When water is falling from a surface, it's like a less viscous lava lamp, and there's a calculable length where it will break off into a droplet. Dalek451 says, I have a Discord server, but it's as good as dead. So, okay. I'm sorry, Dalek. So, Herc130
I never got an invite.
I was going to mention Tora. Yeah, Scotty R37 is on Discord if you want an invite. You want to invite him.
What a great
to
movie.
Discord.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dismiss. I was just sort of talking about the miniaturization of water special effects. Tora is a great movie. I think, one of the, again, we're talking about naval films. That one's 20th century, but it's great. I don't think it's a Star Trek film. Do you think it's a Star Trek film, Teague?
Which movie is this?
Greenwich.
Tora. It's got a Jerry Goldsmith soundtrack, so it does feel that way. Yeah, you've never heard the soundtrack for Tora. It's included on the soundtrack for Patton in the days of CDs. It's really, really good with a haunting score of Native Japanese woodwinds for them. A lot of the interesting Jerry Goldsmith percussion. Maybe it has some Planet of the Apes DNA in it. Really, 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 really good. It enhances that movie a full star. But Jerry Goldsmith is my favorite composer. I think he blows John Williams away by just a little bit. How's that sound? He blows him away by just a little. I'm going to mix my metaphors.
Fair. How can you argue music? It's whatever touches you the most.
Right. For me, Jerry Goldsmith has added so much more to so many more movies. John Williams has been great. And we're talking 1 and 1A. No one's wrong to say John Williams is better. And being from the same town as John Williams, I endorse him, even if he did sue his own high school for playing his music.
Oh, no, that's not cool. I wish he hadn't done that.
When we were graduating,
I do love John Williams. So.
We had a fundraiser for charity because the school needed money, and we played all the songs of John Williams because, he was the most famous alumnus. And we made just enough money for the school to have a football team that year. But then he sued us, and we didn't have a football team for like 2 or 3 more years while we paid off his punitive lawsuit. He wouldn't accept the settlement. He wouldn't lower his fee. He came after us again and again and again. I heard about it for years. Great guy.
And Mark Harkness says, the Japanese had 2 carriers with left or port islands, but since they had to film launches from the USS Yorktown, the Akagi.
It means green dragon.
And model were flipped to conform to Yorktown. Ironically, this caused the set to be an exact replica of what the IJN Amagi would have looked like had she not been destroyed by earthquake when under construction.
Interesting stuff. That's why I love when Mark Harkness has something to say in the chat. It's always pretty profound, and his facts are 100%. Thanks for the info.
Darius Munchausen says, I grew up thinking they had to manually animate CGI water effects. They simulate things like that, but simulation itself is an art. Many variables to tweak and rerun the simulation. Yes, you're right, Darius. And so when you make computer graphics, you realize that they need to be random in order to look good. And so they do those kind of things. Mad G says, blow him away a little bit. That's like saying I ordered a jumbo medium pizza.
Well, it reminds me of the Pink song called "Blow Me," parentheses, "One More Kiss." Close parentheses.
She's good at aerial dancing. I'll give her that. I haven't heard her music in a long time.
There has been never a better review of a show in the history of the YouTube as that forlorn sigh.
Well, what? Seeing Pink live? I've never done it. It's been a while since she's had a hit. But whenever we see a video of her performances, she does a lot of aerial dance. I mean, she gives you your money's worth. She apparently gives you. Thank you for finishing that for me.
And, well, I guess I'm stuck here because we've got a walking stick that they're going to find on the Galapagos Island. And so that tells me that I am way behind in this movie. I've got to catch up a little bit, but they really did go to the Galapagos, so that's why we get these beautiful shots here.
I like how and again, bringing it back to the Star Trek nature of it, like, I appreciate that they've got full scanners. Everyone's got a telescope. Everyone's just like, check this out. Oh my God. Oh no, there's an iguana. Iguanas don't swim in water. These
and I saw
do.
some bluefoot boobies too. The birds.
Did you see a mermaid?
I did not see a merman.
I'm not going to touch that comment about the mermaid.
Why? What's wrong?
Well, I think we have a controversial mermaid in the news right now, so I just am not going to go there.
Oh. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. We don't have time for your damned hobbies, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, that hurt.
Well, and this is, again, there is a rank structure, and while they are friends, like, Steven is Spock McCoy at the very least. He's probably also Uhura. Like,
I hate. Oh, sorry.
Well, there are several Uhuras because they say one thing on the ship, I noticed, and then somebody repeats it so that another part of the ship can hear it.
But that's the communication on an old wooden ship. You just repeat the orders so that everyone can hear the orders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you re-verify the order verbally, and it keeps it military. Scotty's absolutely right on that one. And
I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
Who doesn't love that? No, but you know what? I think the deal with Uhura is she's the only one with the authority and the training and the clearance, aside from Lieutenant Palmer, to be even on comms. You know, everyone else can repeat what she says, but don't go touching those comms unless you're Kirk or another senior officer.
Or Spock. And definitely, she not only has the aptitude to control her station, but also to repair it.
We never see McCoy go over there and just start talking into the communicator. He looks at Jim or has someone else. I mean, we do see Spock, we do see McCoy here, Kirk here and there do it, but the captain has absolute authority over the comms of this ship. If anyone else was to go near that comms panel, they would be disciplined. Your agonizer, please.
So let's see. Let's let the slide. Hopefully, the slides continue. And let's see. That's enough about the ship. Let's see what else is in this book.
I double back to something we kind of left behind with the raft when we got hung up on the idea that if you have no idea of scale, you won't know how far away something is, and people decided that had to be debated. When the raft is lost, we have a series of incidences, and one of the things we do is we have to give up and not circle back for someone, and they have to all watch this happen for an extended period of time. When we lose that one sailor, as he tried, we recover one, I think, but one we just can't get to him. The seas are too rough, and the captain has to give some hard and final orders.
Mm-hmm. And so, let's see what's going on here in the chat. Well, that's perfect timing for Sigourney's role. Yes, that reminded me of that, and so that's why I played that clip. Definitely. There's nothing Lilliputian about the surprise. It's a full-size ship and can't be picked up and moved even by a 300-ton crawler crane. That's why, again, this is invisible, even to the most sharp eye of shipwrights. The ship was constructed in 3 sections, each sliding together like some giant wooden toy. The crane lifted it section by section into the gimbal. Actually, I think Scotty was talking about this before in the pre-show.
It is so very heartbreaking that we have an officer aboard Quelle Surprise that is absolutely not only has the crew decided that he is a curse, he's decided he's a curse. And he does take care of it, even with the support of the captain. Like
Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead. I really thought you'd finish your thought. Go ahead.
Oh no, and I was just going to expound on the rest of the scene. And the thing is that even with the support, it doesn't matter at this point. Mr. Howlett, I think, is Mole. No, I don't care. But he does, like, he later feels the consequences of being dressed down by both the crew and the captain, and is saying, like, do better. Everyone is telling him do better. And what does he do? Jumps off the boat with a cannonball.
He's done. Yeah. You think that it had a good.
He's broken.
Well,
broken by the sea.
But you think that he that it was resolved because everybody salutes him and he is acknowledged again as existing, and then he decides he's done.
Well, and that doesn't happen for a little while because he does. Like, this is the point. So we get the lashing on the deck for the breach, and now Mr. Mowat is like, he's all right. Well, nobody respects me. They just know that they have to respect me out of fear of punishment. And even old man with the coin in his head is like, he thinks he's cursed. And he's right. Every time that beastie's shown up, it's because of him. He's been on the watch. Which is incredible. And so he says the only thing rational to an at sea fragile soul, he's like, I'm going to go. And you know what? I'm surprised that, the captain doesn't say, come on, we need you. We're stronger with you than without you. But he doesn't care. He throws himself into the maw of the ocean. So he was replaced within approximately 20 minutes and nothing of value was lost. It's unfortunate, but there are disposable people when you're on the high seas of the 1800s.
And that's a pretty sad ending, but a very realistic one.
Well, and it does morale for the crew.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
You're not allowed to say she's a Frenchie anymore unless you're actually interacting. Oh, wait, we missed the albatross being shot.
Yeah. I didn't get a picture of the albatross itself.
We did tell the story earlier, so we don't have to come back. We told the story of how Stephen got shot.
Hey, I shouldn't have to.
We did talk about this, and we talked about how the reason they're shooting around a musket on their own ship, loaded to kill a human, to shoot a bird, is because they're that into having a good non-reconstituted meal, as we heard Captain Kirk say on Cestus 3.
Yes. Well,
their food is terrible. Go ahead.
Teague, like, when I consider Marines, I consider Americans. I consider that being a branch of the American Armed Forces. Right. And I'm sure any American can answer, but I'm blessed with the presence of Teague. So
thank you.
Is it a military force that goes upon land, or is it like the security detail aboard ship? Those are Marines?
Simple question.
What is the definition of Marine?
Very complex question, honestly, but I'll give you the simplest, quickest answer I can. You ready?
Yes.
Depends on the country. In the United States, the Marines start out right around the time of our Navy, and they are the boarding parties and security on Navy ships. Also, if the ship gets close to land, your Marines, they're not as skilled as your seamen. They're not like, your Marine attack force would not consist of. Look at something like Star Trek Discovery. Their security attack team was like both of.
I refuse to look at Discovery.
That's a good choice.
Good choice. All right, look at Strange New Worlds. When they send an attack force, it's both of their medic.
Not.
How about this then? Instead of challenging everything I say, when you send an attack force of only medical people, that's outright dumb, because who's going to help them if they get hurt? You don't send your navigator who has complex knowledge that no one else has. You don't send the guy who knows how to fix the sails. You have a dedicated force of fighting men. They're specialists in fighting. Now, when we're fighting
like
at
Enterprise.
sea, right?
Okay.
Thank you for interrupting that, but go ahead, ask your question.
Well, no, I was just curious. Is it a military force that goes aground, or is it is it responsible for the security on the ship? I thought it was like an aggressive.
On the Surprise,
if you have a boarding party, you're going to be able to. You're going to send your Marines, right?
Which ship we're talking about? On the Surprise, because you said Enterprise, and that
no, the
meant
Surprise.
Me think
the
you were
Surprise.
All right, on the Surprise, they're a British Royal Navy ship, so these are just extra tough sailors who are of lower skill. As far as you don't have your master sail repair guy on the Marine boarding party. He's fighting. He'll stay on your ship and defend it, but he's not the first guy you want swinging over there. It would be led by the younger, tougher, less skilled sailors who, if we lost them, it would still be a shame because we love our comrades. But, not the same as.
Like the military guys are the ones, right?
Here's the thing. At this point in history on this particular ship, I do not think they had the luxury to have 12 to 15 guys who sat around waiting for a battle. Your Marines were a contingent of the ship that formed up and knew that they were part of the Marine platoon, but they also had other jobs on this kind of a ship.
But many of the characters are credited, and I can only go by the creditor or by the credits, is that there are Marines, Master of Marine.
In World War II, actually in World War I, the role of the Marines massively changes when we start deploying them on land a lot of the time. But on every ship in the United States Navy, the security detail are Marines. Is that what you're asking me? Or are you asking me still about the 18th century ship?
Mark Harkness in the chat says, the U.S. created the Army. The Navy looked at them and said, we can do that, but tougher and meaner. And the Marines were created. Thank you, Mark Harkness.
I love that comment. Really quickly, though, I would say this. The Army created the U.S.
That was very clear.
The Army created the U.S. The Army, April 1775. No United States till July 1776. But essentially, 100% correct.
There's something in the book here about historical advisors that looks good. I want people to feel, said Peter Weir, that this is as close as you can get to the impossible but exciting idea of traveling back to the past. And to achieve that, the advisors became part of the fabric of this film, so much so that they were often dressed as extras to be at hand, looking authentic to advise on last-minute detail. They included historical consultant Gordon Lacko, armament advisor Martin Bibbing, sword master Dan Speaker, sailing master Andy Ray Ellers, and master shipwright Leon Poindexter. Others who assisted include Brian Levy of the National Maritime Museum, Peter Goodwin of the Victory Museum, Mike Crumplin of the Royal College of Surgeons in England, and Chuck Fithen, curator of archaeology at the Delaware Museum, who worked on the HMB. Wow, that is quite a list of lots of incredible experts.
And a lot of them from America.
Mm-hmm. The reality of O'Brien's characters, even the exact positioning of the scars to be placed on Jack Aubrey tallies with descriptions of wounds in the novel. Most aspects of the film, from the authentic weave of the ship lines to the buckles on the shoes, were faithfully recreated. So,
Jill, may I excuse myself for a nicotine inhalation?
Yes, as there is no smoking on the bridge, you may.
Merci.
I have taken up smoking, Captain.
Makes sense. The hammocks separated from each other by the standard 14 inches emphasize the appallingly cramped conditions, yet having them in such close proximity carries a benefit that isn't immediately apparent. Running our own ships, continued Laco, we discovered that if you spread the hammocks out, they bang into each other when the ship rolls. If you keep them tightly together, then they all sway together. It's not, he concedes, what you choose, nor what one would choose to sleep in what in tropical climes. Wow. Okay. The gun deck on the bluff benefits from natural light, which would have been the case had it been real. The great cabin, again mirroring the real ship, is also part of the set. It also mirrors O'Brien's description. In the story's final battle, the Surprise topples the mast of the Acheron in order to cripple and board the ship. The Surprise's guns, however, are too low to aim for the mast, so Jack orders pullings to remove the rear wheels, as well as everything else possible: wheels, quoin, bed, and stool, in order to achieve the higher trajectory.
How are we on time? Are you still okay for a quick thing about these lizards here?
Oh, yes, please. Tell me about
Okay,
the iguanas.
These are marine iguanas. Okay, they make fantastic pets. The freshwater variety are much smaller and live in Asia, especially Vietnam. But these are giant marine iguanas that live on the Galapagos Islands. They got there on natural rafts, like knocked down trees. They fill the ecological niche of a squirrel where they come from. But here on the Galapagos, they've evolved into being sort of like hunter-fisher creatures. They'll go into the water. Almost all iguanas are herbivoreal or insectivoreal. I believe insectivoreal. And these iguanas go in there and eat fish. So what they'll do is they'll bask on those rocks till their blood gets good and hot. They'll jump in there and they can hold their breath for 20 minutes or more. And when they come up, they start blowing the extra brine out of the back of their nostrils. If you ever see them venting out water, that's what they're doing.
So they're a true omnivore.
And they live for 20 years. They make fantastic pets. I've had one. Its name was Binky.
That's so fun, Binky. That's
when my girlfriend came to my apartment for the first time, I kind of forgot about it because they eat every 2 weeks and they can only go to the bathroom in water. So we'd like jump in my fish tank, eat a goldfish, and do its business there. And I kind of almost forgot about it. And it had gotten to be like 3 feet long. And I was like, oh, yeah, sit down on the couch. I'll be right back. And I was like making us a drink. And I hear her start screaming. I run back into my living room. And there's Binky on the floor. And it's like standing on its back legs, waving its arms at her like Godzilla. And she's like, what the hell is this creature? And it's like, calm down. He lives here. You don't.
Well, you did warn her, right? That you have an iguana?
No, I forgot. But after that,
you forgot. Yes.
After she got done screaming at me, everything was fine.
Right. Yeah. Since she didn't know, she wasn't expecting it. It's kind of the thing you mentioned that you have. Godzilla
no one was mad at it. No one was mad at each other. No one punked each other. I totally forgot about the lizard, and they're diurnal, so they should be out cold at night. And I guess what happened was we brought home pizza. It smelled the pizza. It woke up and came after it because it used to eat from my hand. If you train them well enough, they get as obedient as cats and have as much personality and can be trained a little bit. And mine was great. It used to kill things with its tail. Used to jump around and come cuddle up with me. It would like sleep on my chest. It was a really great pet.
Wow. Yeah. It sounds like they have great personalities.
If you feed them live prey. If not, they will stay very, very boring. You have to train them up to it.
They stay boring if you feed. So they're like.
They have to hunt to tap into that. If they don't hunt, if they don't attack, if they don't delete, they will not have that part of their primitive part of their brains activated, and they will not be able to fully actualize. Their personality gets unlocked because you level up. Yeah, well, once you achieve like 20,000 points fishing, you unlock the mental acuity upgrade if you're a marine iguana. These are marine iguanas. I have what was called a water dragon. One lives in freshwater, one lives in saltwater. The water dragon considerably smaller, but almost the same thing. And these are the only the only iguanas I believe that live in the sea. And they also, when they swim, very interesting, they swim from the back of the neck in an undulating motion, which was copied for the great film Godzilla 1998, which is made by genius Roland Emmerich.
Did your iguana get to the same size as the iguanas in this movie?
My iguana was about 3 feet long. 2 of it was tail. Its body was the size of a Coke bottle, a 20-ounce Coke
Adorable.
bottle, and its head was about as big as a tennis ball. It lived 20 years.
Well, oh, that's a great lifetime.
That's average for them.
And so there are costumes in this movie. Aging costumes is a curious process involving both the arcane and the obvious. The aforementioned shoes and boots well, you have to read this book to learn about the shoes and boots. I won't be reading about that. Tend to take care of themselves when the actors and the extras are playing baseball. We like them doing that. It means we don't have to age them. And yes, in the past, he has used the highly sophisticated aging method, tying them to the backs of trucks and dragging them along the ground.
No, chill. When you would get your new punk rock black leather jacket, if that was something you did you make sure to run it over with your car before you wore it? Because that's what I would do.
Yeah, that would make sense. No, I never
Yeah,
actually.
no,
I listened to punk rock, but I never actually dressed the part.
you didn't have even the black leather punk rock jacket.
No, just the shoes. I only bought the Doc Martens. That's as far as I
I'm
went
totally.
and wore the t-shirts.
We are totally getting anti-derivative Jill saving Star Trek motorcycle jacket for Christmas.
Well,
Yeah,
as long
you know
as it's
what?
a feminine jacket. I like girly stuff, so.
We'll get the feminine cut one that looks great. But you know, at least in high school and college, when I would get a new black leather jacket, I would run it over with my car, and sometimes drag it behind the car, just one quick ride around the block to make it look less spiffy and new.
Right, and that's also
Right?
why you put your own patches on the jacket. It's completely ridiculous to buy. Even though I didn't take part in the fashion, I knew it was ridiculous to buy one that had the patches already on them because then
Oh,
you're not even
yeah.
personalizing it.
My punk rock thing was this: I wouldn't put your patch on my jacket because that's my jacket and it's on me, and I'm better than you.
Mm.
Why should I put anyone's band's patch on my jacket when I have my own band to promote?
Oh, okay, now I get it. No, I didn't have a band,
Well,
so I
also
didn't have to worry about that.
it is kind of a punk rock thing. It's like, why should I promote you when I'm better than you are?
Mhm. Makes sense. The men on the Surprise would be at sea for up to 2 years on this voyage. They had very little to call their own, so it stands to reason that, for the most part, they would take pride in what they did possess, especially the officers. There are contemporary accounts revealing that they could be quite competitive about the origin and the quality of everything from their epaulettes to their boots. As mentioned, all were custom made for each individual, and their choice of cloth and tailor was one of the few visible manifestations on board ship of their wealth. Ed Woodall, who played Moet, possibly scores the most points here. His top coat was made from cloth personally selected by ex-president Gorbachev of Russia a month before he was removed from office. Yes, Steek?
I was going to say it's epaulettes, and those are the shoulder board paddles and symbols of rank. On the Orville, they have epaulettes, so to speak. You know, the metal things on the shoulders with like the bars on them to designate their uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Those
exactly. So you know what rank
th-
they are,
yeah,
and
they're
they're color coded. I love it.
Right. Those are technically epaulettes. That's what an epaulette is.
Right, and so it tells you what department they're in with the little symbol in the Orville.
Right. Well, his are on his shoulder. You could see at the his hair is a little long and scraggly, but then you can see the top collar, and on top of his shoulder he has that gold braided epaulette, signifying he's the captain. Because I believe at this point he's revealed himself as the captain. He's pretending to be just a crewman for a little while.
Well, and it says here the extraordinary thing about the costumes in this film, says James G.R.K. who played Pullings, is that simply to put them on is some way to become the character. They're incredibly constricting. They make you stand up straight, particularly if you want to wear an officer's uniform. They make you feel like a gentleman. That's sort of half the battle won. So I guess definitely great costuming can help an actor really get into the role. And so I can agree with that.
I could imagine that if someone was going to play a police officer and they put on that police uniform, they would feel a little bit of like a way of identifying with it. I could absolutely believe that getting into this costume and looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing yourself thrown back 200-300 years would make you want to perform better.
Well, even just cosplaying, even though you're not acting, it kind of does something to your personality. Like when I had these ears on, I was like, "Hey, am I going Vulcan or Romulan here?"
You know what? On the aging of the clothes thing, what I was chuckling about with my mic muted was that this British director is saying that these British and Australian actors were playing baseball. What? Get out of here! They're playing cricket.
Oh, well, yeah, but I think
They wouldn't know
they
how.
They were saying. I guess maybe they were playing to get their
Was
shoes
he
dirty.
speaking in general? You still have to teach him like that's
Oh,
a
I really
9-hour.
don't.
It takes about 9 hours to explain how to play baseball.
What? No,
I'm
it
thinking
doesn't. Little
to
kids
Brit
who are
to Brit explain it to a British people how the force works and how tags work.
3-year-old babies play baseball. I don't think
3-year-old
I don't think
babies do play baseball, but their parents are doing a lot of the work. I would just say, if you don't think I'm not going to make an issue of it, but if there's a man on second and a man on third, who do you know, and someone's coming home, do you suicide squeeze and try to cut off the player at the plate if that's happening, or is the force with you at third so that you can get the easy out? Which move do you do? It's not easy or simple to explain baseball. It's not soccer.
If you're getting into actual games, then you're absolutely right. But if you're just hitting the ball around and running around and just having fun like a bunch of 3-year-olds, then you can absolutely play baseball.
You could play something like baseball. You could play basketball after an hour. You can explain basketball or soccer in like a half hour to an hour. Baseball, that's pretty complicated.
You're not going to get that complex if your objective is just to get the shoes dirty.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm not going to. The idea that they taught these Australian and British people how to play baseball, I think he was speaking either in generalities or they played cricket.
And that is a good question. I don't know. I can't ask this guy if they really did play baseball to dirty up the shoes.
Let's get him on Discord right now. Hold on. What's his name? I'm going to Google it.
I don't remember. Paul something? I don't remember exactly.
All right. I'm going to just start calling everyone in the world named Paul one after another. I'll unmute when I get him.
D'Arcy, I think is what it was, but I don't remember. With the little apostrophe between the D and the A.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm coming for you, Paul D apostrophe. We're going to find out about these shoes and this baseball game that you say was played. I sense a conspiracy, Jill.
I don't know. I'm just reading from this book. So if you want to know more about it, check out this book, the making of.
It just struck me as odd. It's like everyone in this movie is British and Australian, and he's talking about playing baseball, which is uniquely American or Japanese. Had half the cast been Japanese, I'd be like, okay, I get it. But British and Australian people do not play baseball by and large. And I would say, where's our professional baseball team in England? There might be one in Australia. It might be 3 or 4 actually, because you have to have a league. But I think he was just talking off the cuff. If they go out and play baseball in them, or if they go out and rough it up and wear them around and live their lives in these shoes, they'll look lived in.
Yeah.
And the wording was what got me.
Right. Mr. Angel says the concept of the Marines was actually developed by the Dutch in the mid-16th century, a dedicated force on board for landing operations and defense. Just ask the Spanish and the Portuguese.
Oh, they destroy the Spanish flagship when they get their independence, because for a little while there, Spain is in charge of the Netherlands. 1615, was that the battle?
I'm really only very good at American history when you go outside of. I need to learn more world history. I took world history in high school, but that's about it.
After the show, I'm going to take my shuttle over to your place and we'll transport over to the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands in Amsterdam, and we'll see the sinking of the Spanish flagship by the Dutch painting. It's an incredible painting.
If you want to send me a picture of that, I can share it. We don't have to wait. It's tangentially related to this, so I don't mind at all, especially since we have someone in the chat very interested in this kind of thing.
He's right, though. And let's remember, the Dutch and the British are sometimes the same country in this period.
Given that neither beards nor mustaches were permitted, those who wanted facial hair were limited to sideburns. In some cases, enthusiastic bristly ones. Yet 1805 wasn't particularly oh, wait a minute. The actors were asked not to cut their hair between casting and filming. This wasn't necessarily to do with length. The look decided by Peter Weir and the requests of the actors themselves were taken into account, but Yolanda Towson explains even if they've had a haircut within the last few months, you can tell the technology used wasn't that of 1805. This may seem
That is a
extreme.
great point, because when we see Civil War reenactments, their hair is just always wrong.
So this is the point where you actually want to have dead ends and unevenly growing hair.
No, but I mean, that's an amazing point that I hadn't have thought of. Way to go, Jill. I learned something today.
Well, yeah, read this book if you want to learn more. It's a really good book. It's 180 pages. I will not get through 10% or even 5% of this book. I'm just randomly scrolling through and reading random
I've or,
paragraphs.
I've already hit my upper limit of the things I can learn today, but I'll try. So, I think the picture might be a little small. It might be better if you present it. Do you want me to do the URL or
Yeah, send me the URL. I know how to make
You-
things
embiggen
look good.
things?
Yes. Yeah, I was trying not to use that verbiage, but yes.
I'll say embiggen.
And
I won't be doing imitations of like Captain Kirk or anything like that, but I will say embiggen. I'll take that one.
magnification times 10.
Yes,
Tattooing.
that's a good one too.
Ever since Captain Cook ventured into the South Pacific, the art of tattooing has been linked closely with the lives of sailors. Whilst the first tattoos were done under native Polynesians, sailors soon began to tattoo each other aboard ship, and the practice spread throughout the Royal Navy and then other natives, with former sailors often establishing tattoo parlors in port cities throughout the world. In 1789, Captain Bliss that's just a funny name, of the Bounty recorded that of the
It's
25
Bly. It's Captain
Oh,
Bly.
Captain Bligh.
Captain
Why did
Bligh
I
is Captain Bligh is Captain Bligh. It's
Captain Bligh.
British.
Thank you.
A
Thank you.
long eye, like Captain Bligh, like lightning
Captain
Bligh.
Bligh. Thank you. Fletcher
That's,
Christian.
you know what? Captain Blick is funnier. Please just call him that. Please
I
just
will.
we've cleared it up. We've cleared it up, and now it's just fun. So Captain Blick did what?
Okay, thank you. He recorded that of the 25 mutineers, 18 had tattoos, including Fletcher Christian, who had a star tattooed on his left breast. A century later, it was estimated that 90% of all sailors in the U.S. Navy had tattoos. So it's just become a tradition.
Can I please say again, Little Michael, I saw the tattoo you're planning on getting. You know what? You're a really handsome kid. Please get a better tattoo for your Uncle John. You know, do it for your Uncle John.
That's a nice callback to that moment. And also, I want to say hello to Snortopoopus Cuber. Hello.
I had the wrong URL. I'm putting the right one in right now. So that one that I showed you, that was actually from the British Maritime Museum. Here's the Dutch version.
Okay, great. Snortopoopus Cuber says one epaulet on the left shoulder meant commander. One on the right was a captain with less than 3 years service. 2 epaulets was a captain with more than 3 years. The lieutenants had none.
Amazing stuff, Snorty. Thank you so much. That's incredible.
And Snorty also corrects me, Captain Blig.
Captain Blitz. No, I believe that the captain you're talking about is a Bligh.
Yes.
That's Captain Bligh. Somebody crack open a beer?
Yeah.
It was probably Jill.
Look who's back. What a coincidence.
Well, you never know if it's a beer or a Coke Zero.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
And so, okay, so we got a picture here, and I'm going to, so yes, I do see the picture, and I will share it. And I know that I'm on slide, who knows what slide I'm on. Let's get through a few of these first. We're already out of battle, so that's good.
Let me know when you want context on the painting.
Has their captain been sighted? Not yet. Carry on.
Oh, I was supposed to. I was supposed to write a fight battle. Jill, can I tell you about the thing that I didn't do?
Yeah, tell me about it while I get this picture.
I did not describe.
But that's
the
okay.
Fight battle.
No problem. It's fine. We're doing great. We're doing great without it. Although it would have been appreciated. You did an amazing job for the Trouble Tribbles that I still want to.
Do you want me to
Cli-
read that one instead?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Read
no,
what?
no.
Oh, that would be funny. Okay, yes, please give us context on this painting. Admiralty?
Sorry, I was muted. This
Oh, that's
painting
fine.
is the painting of the Dutch or Netherlandic fleet sinking the Spanish flagship, and I believe it's the Battle of Gibraltar. I saw this picture for the first time at the Rijksmuseum. They've got Van Goghs and Rembrandts there. It's pretty amazing. If you could get to Amsterdam, go. But it's a very big seafaring town, and even though the Netherlands and Holland, as it was sometimes called, was only twice the size of the state of New Jersey, they had a worldwide empire and would mess up other countries, as we see them here destroying the Spanish flagship, an event that got them independence. Technically, the world's first democracy because you voted for the prince, and instead of barons, they had electors. So that's how, like, an early democracy with a red, white, and blue flag emerges. And as you can see, the exploding ship has the yellow flag of Spain kind of falling down as its mast collapses. And on the Victoria ship, you see the red, white, and blue tricolor of the Dutch. This is about 1690, 1720, somewhere
You
in
definitely
there.
know your stuff with this little battle here.
Admiral Teague has a degree in history from State University of New York.
That's pretty cool.
There are only two universities. There are 80 colleges, but I was in one of the two universities. You have to have certain grade point level. Beat out 700 New Yorkers for that. I'd like to think that I did a pretty good job remembering that stuff.
You did.
Congratulations.
Oh.
Coming from you, that means so much.
You liar.
The 80 Years' War, says Snorapupus. And so,
yes, he's right.
Brian Dick relates with amusement that the actors, despite the caveat about mirrors and therefore self-awareness, know exactly how dirty they are. We turn up every day and get covered in filth. Basically, that's how the makeup works. We have filth under our nails, filth around our nails. Our arms are filthy, we're sunburned. They put extra tan on us, and they cover us in mud, basically. A slight exaggeration, maybe, but even at the beginning of the movie, the men have been at sea for months. They've long been accustomed to the omnipresent tar and sporting 2-day stubble. Their hairstyles, however, were dictated by the look of the day as well as by their environment. Yolanda Towson points out that the midshipmen were generally groomed to look like captains, and many of them would have had the fashionable Napoleon hairstyle as epitomized by Mowat. And so that's a bit of the information on that front of their hair. Oh, dentistry in the doldrums. Oh my goodness. Why would they mention teeth? Let me skim this to see what's interesting here.
Oh,
In
don't
the
they
movie,
try and steal like the gold teeth?
in this movie? I missed that.
I don't think so. Like, but it sounds like a thing of piracy where you would extract the gold teeth of the people. Like you don't have a mattress to put your money under.
No,
So
it's because
it
one
in
of the
your
leading.
face.
I would speculate the reason is ships had to have that because one of the leading causes of death at that point was things like dental infections.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. In the movie, Higgins is clearly out of his depth in different ways. I think, says Richard McCabe, that he got into sailing because it's a secure job. It was a steady wage on board ship and 3 meals a day. And I think it's more to do with that. I don't think he has the constitution of a sailor at all. He's neither a seaman or a surgeon, but his presence provides a comic vignettes in a film that embraces all human emotions. Oh, I don't even remember this guy. Higgins using the latest technology, his hands, to extract a tooth, and so he tries to claim a doldrum worm from Slade's mouth. I don't remember this scene. I guess you guys can't see what I see.
No, I see.
You guys,
Well, I don't. I see what's on the screen.
I could make a joke about how I can't see the good in a lot of people and agree with you and just leave it at that. How about that? Yes,
look at this. Wait a minute. Look at this. Do you remember this scene, Scotty?
Honestly,
really
this
don't.
feels like special edition territory to me.
Yeah, I
I'd
didn't
have
see
to-
this
I'd
when I
have to
watched
look.
it.
Do not remember
Well,
this
and
at all.
It's really interesting because I believe that gentleman. Oh, I'm sorry, I full screened before I could see the image. But that
Dang
gentleman,
it. I'm sorry. Here, I'll show it to you again. I thought you saw it
but
already.
that gentleman had a peg leg. It was never highlighted. Like the gentleman putting like things into this dude's face, that guy had a peg leg. He was one of the engineers. Like he was, yeah, no, there are so many details specific to the era in terms
Now
of
that's
nautical hardships that
that's
like it's
dedication. He
incredible
cut
to
his leg
watch.
off for this role.
Yes, he did.
Amazing. I mean, it's a craft. It really is a craft.
Oh yeah, and they went through boot camp too, just to do some training for the movie.
Just to break in their uniforms
Chart,
and get
chart,
tar under their fingernails.
yeah, and charts, handouts, and reams of research were distributed to everyone, including heads of the filming department. There were written material to read, essays and books by naval scholars, including N.A.M. Roger and Brian Lavery. Intricate line drawings of the ships and sails for every cast and crew. A collection of writings thicker than this book on various topics from setting and dousing the courses to small boat scene. Well, okay, so everybody was required to do a bunch of research for this movie. It's really great.
Well, and especially like when you watch period pieces, like stuff like Glory, Civil War era things, and you watch like difficult medical procedures, like all of this is when you crash into one that actually, whether or not it's 100% accurate, if it's close, if it evokes the emotion of actually being there, I really really like it. And one of the best parts about this is that even the echoes of discipline and responsibility and friendship and the unknown, they're all represented here in this movie. I do like I can't undersell Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World, because if I want to feel the briny sea in my face, the salt air, I will watch this. And
Can I,
also,
can I just say, I thought the reason you couldn't
please.
undersell it is because you're not the publicity department for this movie, which completely and utterly failed to generate any interest at the box office.
Well, as you mentioned, some guy decided to go beat the shit out of a concierge with a phone. So they
Yeah.
did their best. And
If
then all of
you're
a sudden the gossip rags got in their face.
Well, he was a great look. We could see in this performance in other movies, aside from the last few years where he's been awful. Russell Crowe is a pretty good actor in his prime. From Romper Stomper to about this
Oh,
point in his career, you
I
got
loved.
great Romper Stomper.
No, I loved Beautiful Mind.
Yes.
Yeah, where he plays. Is it Jackson Pollock? Or that's the other movie. We had two similar movies the same
It
year.
was
He's
called
playing the
Pollock.
mathematician.
The Jackson
Right.
Pollock movie was called Pollock. No, A Beautiful
Right.
Mind was the mathematician. I forget his name.
Well, why would the Pollock movie have that name? Just kidding.
Probably
just kidding.
Probably because of crabs.
It's the mathematician that came up with game theory, whoever that was.
Jeffrey
Yeah, I
Hunter.
forget who it was. All I know is he was married to Marcia Gay Harden, right?
John Forbes Nash.
Right. But wasn't the wife in that movie Marcia Gay Harden?
But if you do, it was Jennifer Connelly. So if you do get
okay, so Marcia Gay Harden's the wife in Pollock. Those movies kind of meld together in my mind. They're similar.
If you do get the opportunity to see The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, I highly recommend. Great Shane Black movie. I would put it upside your head, but also Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The Nice Guys and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. What a double feature. But only the second one has Russell Crowe.
Zarapupus Cuber says to Mr. Angel, don't rub it in. They're sensitive. But remember what Trump said, make Amsterdam great again. It's time to drain the polders.
That's right. When France sends us their Acheron captains, they're not sending their best anymore.
Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say.
I don't see. People still
There you
go
go.
there anyway. You know what? Been to both. It's been a lot of fun. New Amsterdam and Old Amsterdam are both a great place to hang out.
Well, I don't do the drugs.
Do they both? They both have coffee.
Yeah, they do you.
Mr. Angel says
I
to
am
snort a poop.
drugs. Sorry.
Well,
That
the
was great.
British
That was
always-
very funny, actually.
always rub Britannia rolls the waves in my face until I remind them of that little mishap. It's for the defensive purposes only. And Snortapoopa
Oh,
says,
well-
I'm certain you let them take New Amsterdam from you because you knew how that cesspool was going to turn out. Oh, and hello
Oh,
to the
yeah,
goat
okay.
father.
Hey,
Goat.
Goatfather. Yeah, they knew that one day Admiral Teague would be in New Amsterdam. So like, just let them take it.
Snortapoopa says, if you take it back, please clean it up.
It rained very hard yesterday. New York is quite clean right now and doesn't smell like pee at all.
And Tony of Stark of Iron is listening on his way to work. So I would like to talk
Hell,
about.
Stark of Iron.
There's a little
Ahoy,
thing about
Tony.
in this book about the music. It says it's probably fair to say, wrote Patrick O'Brien, that the sea officers of that time knew more about music, serious music, than their modern counterparts. Above all, in the matter of playing themselves, improvising, and even composing. For at that period, the cult of Philistinism, so general in this century, had not yet invaded the fighting services. Peter's weird, passionate interest in music would have gratified O'Brien. Music is always important, integral, often mesmeric element in the director's films, and this one is no exception. Peter Weir, as mentioned, played all types of music. The added bonus is that Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany went to enormous lengths to acquire the violin and cello skills of Aubrey and Marchand. They
They're-
had lessons.
They're not good, but their fingers are in the right places.
They had
they're
lessons.
playing well. Oh,
Yeah, I thought so.
They're not like I hate to say it. Everyone loves the movie The Doors, but the guy who plays Robbie Krieger, is it James Wally or whatever his name is? He should be indicted for that performance on the guitar. He just sort of wobbles his hand around. Watch it. These guys learned enough, or something like the Buddy Holly story with Gary Busey, where he actually learned how to play guitar, and this other actor who cut his leg off for this role. There was a lot of dedication here.
Yeah. They had lessons every day for months. When you see them playing pieces by Mozart or Boccherini,
Botticelli.
Boccherini?
Botticelli.
No, there's no L here.
I'm thinking of
They
the
really
artist. Yeah,
are
you're right.
playing them.
Botticelli is a painter. Yeah, they're playing.
Here, let me
I don't
see how
think.
to.
Bakalaka
Put it in
High
the private
Makachani
chat.
Ho?
Put it in the private chat. I'll figure it out.
Yes.
What do you call
I
it?
can use a internet.
There you go. Yeah, you can have it pronounced here.
Yeah, I have a pronunciation website.
I forgot about
There's
that.
a box with all the answers.
That's true. Why do people still have bar fights when we know the answer to everything with 2 cell phones in our pockets? How do people still disagree?
I don't know. We've never met
We'll
in a
figure it
bar.
out.
It's
Let me
it's
get on
pronounced
my phone.
Boccherini.
Thank you.
Baccarini?
Boccherini. Mozart or Boccherini. That's how it's pronounced. That's how it's pronounced on the internet.
How do you
I'll
pronounce
put it in
Legolas?
private chat if you want to.
Legolas.
What's the name?
It's
Jill,
Legolas.
we forgot.
What did we
'cause
forget?
We were no members. There's a Hobbit in this movie.
Yeah, we mentioned it when
We
you were
mentioned
away.
that.
We mentioned
Oh,
Pippin,
thank heavens!
Billy Boyd earlier.
Good for
because
Billy Boyd.
definitely.
Who would be known as which Pippin? Pippin.
He would be known as that guy in that movie that I never saw.
He was the
Home
guy smart
behind-
enough not to end up in Lost. He was like, I'll do this movie instead.
No,
Oh,
he wasn't
wow.
lost.
Well, Dominic Monaghan, who is Merry, ends up in that one, right?
Like happy? Like he's joyous?
Merry and Pippin.
Merry the Hobbit. You should check out this movie
I
called
won't.
Lord of the Rings
I
by
don't.
Peter Jackson. No, you probably
Well,
won't.
I've heard there's a lot of walking.
They're best friends.
Oh, good. Well, I don't wish any ill will.
You clearly.
They reused the explosion of
You hate
Praxis.
Hobbits.
Don't bother with the Lord of the Rings.
Sounds like a thing. Sounds like a thing. Anyway.
Jill got it.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That's why Scotty R37 will not watch Stargate, the movie.
True. Anyway, I do have to excuse myself, Jill. I apologize for leaving early.
Well, yeah, we only have another 20 minutes anyway, so it is fine that you've got to go.
I did hear an interesting
Do you really?
establishment of rating. This is from my co-host from the Phantasmagorium show, Kat.
Mhm.
And she said that if you give a movie a 3, it's basically a D. C minus, B, C plus, or sorry, 3. Anyway, she gave me this whole like numerical instruction. Let me see if I can find it. I'll find it before I start bastardizing her words, because she usually does keep me in check. Let me find out specifically. But I do want to find this out. So mathematically, 3 out of 5 is a D, 3.5 is a C, 4 is a B, 4.5 is an A, and 5 is an A plus. Now let's be fair. Not
a
many
B.
movies get a 5.
This movie's a B.
I think that this movie, if I were to give it, I'm going to give it a 4. Yeah, absolutely. It's a B.
Yeah, it's a 4, about a 4B. It's a very solid B, maybe a B plus for all the realism, research, authenticity, and it's a lot of fun. But on the downside, it's a bit long, and it also, it starts and stops, and we don't get the end of this story.
And I actually, well, we do get. He went
No, we
above.
end off in the middle of a battle, and we're going to continue the chase. Things are happening when this movie
They weren't
stops.
on the way home.
No, the battle is almost. We think the battle's over, and then we find out we got to keep on fighting and find the French captain, and the movie's not over, but it stops.
Well, the French captain's dead.
That's why it's a. No, they find out that he has pulled one over on them. You should check this movie out. It's pretty good. Pretty good movie, Scotty. Start watching it.
It is a pretty great movie, and the reason why I think it's a great movie is because that the captain goes above and beyond. He's already gone way past his orders, and he's done more than he was asked to do. And if he's going back to fight again, then that is awesome.
Right. The captain of the French ship has masqueraded as I believe, the doctor, and the doctor is masquerading as the captain, something of that nature. And they pull the old switcheroo on it, and it's like, all right, we've got the French ship, we've got the French captain, we've got everything we want. And they grab the French captain, and they figure out right away he's not the captain. And they're like, all right, let's do this. Bang! The movie ends. It was supposed to go right into another film.
But Scotty R37, you have to leave us?
I do have to take my leave. And
is there anything you'd like to share before you go?
Well, I was the youngest child of 7. No, I would just like to, check out Tim Possible, Tim Talks. I wish I knew the name of the channel. Cinema Gulp. Absolutely subscribe to Cinema Gulp. If you are into ranting tirades and other things that can sometimes be sedate.
This sounds like the Saving Star Trek plug.
No. I wouldn't.
Still plugging for that, are we? Okay.
All right. Well, no. Do you like? I think, yeah. No. I would say subscribe to Admiral Teague's channel, Saving Star Trek. It's adorbs.
Thanks,
and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. This is my favorite channel, and not just because Jill lets me on, although that is a big part of it. But I do think that Jill is an amazing presenter who offers a conversation that brings friends together. And even if they're not friends, they can have a conversation. And that is, one of the most blessed things about the internet.
That's always my favorite part, when people can come together and be civil and have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm friends with anybody. I'm friends with anybody I'm blessed to share the air with anti-derivative.
That's not true, you liar. Anyway, I will
Don't
leave. And
insult
I
my
would,
intelligence, Kirk.
if you had any intelligence to insult, I would do it. I'll see you all later, guys.
Fuck
Bye,
off. I
Scotty,
mean, goodbye.
R37. Okay, so Mr. Angel says, gotta go, eat something, and take a nap for 3 streams in the middle of the night, early morning. Damn those time zones. Have a great weekend, all. See you on Clobbies tomorrow. Yeah, Clobbies tomorrow. It's going to be so great. I can't wait because it's going to be the season finale of Voyager. So season 1 is apparently a very short season, only 16 episodes. So we're already at the end of season 1 of Voyager on the Cloudburn Time Saturday Night Star Trek show tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central Time. Definitely go check it out. I am excited. I'm always excited for Clappies.
It's always a fun time. It's always good to do Saturday Night Star Trek. And now we're back on my home turf since I took up the challenge to close the blind spot, which was a legitimate thing to say. I probably should watch all Star Trek, and I'll get there. I'll say this, though. I'm not going to deal with drudging through Deep Space Nine, but Voyager was a joy.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Angel says, we also like to thank British for their generous gift of their flagship we took from the British Naval Yard during the British-Dutch War. They'll never forgive us for that.
Now, was that because you were the same country, you started building it, and then the country broke up because of a royal marriage changing or a royal spouse changing? Because that's basically what happens. William of Nassau, of William and Mary fame, who was married to, Queen Mary of England, they became, for a couple of generations, the British and the Dutch are one country because they have the same regents. They're married.
Mm-hmm. And and Jim made it home. That's great. And also, Canadian Spider-Man said, hey, there's Fairbear from out of nowhere arriving with some flair. Beware, some swear. But me personally, I don't care. He's my favorite bear. Wow, nice poem, Canadian Spider-Man. I love it.
By the way, Jill, I saw how Baccarini is spelled in the private chat. Yeah, I never would have gotten that. I'd have absolutely massacred it. It's a word salad. It is a mass of letters, ladies and gentlemen, this guy's name. Oh, hey, is Mark Kalon? I have been told that this is also Mark Harkness. Yeah, I think my main account dropped out again. Oh, so maybe it's not our StreamYards. Yeah, Mark Harkness is a great guy. 4K one IY1 is his other account.
Oh, thank you very much for that information. I missed that.
Of course.
For Kylon says, I think my main account dropped. So Mark Harkness says, the talk of amputations, this is why a ship's doctor is called sawbones, are simply bones.
That's true. You're right. But also this was common on the land as well. Your chances of keeping that leg were no better in the Army. Basically, if you got shot in the arm, they had to take that arm off. That's it. There was no treatment. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So they gave you that little leather thing, and if you're lucky, you get some liquor.
If you're lucky, yeah. In the American Civil War, they had morphine, and the first morphine wave of morphine addiction, or as I call it, selfishly deciding to be a drug addict, is right after the Civil War.
Let's see. Now I'm looking at the part of the book that talks about the actors, so I'm going to see if I can find anything interesting.
The actors in this movie, actually, it was a fantastic cast. The boot camp paid off well. I think that the way they took to these roles, everyone seemed to be very into it, even background actors. We had the boat, as Scotty was so kind to tell us, on a gimbal to mimic the motion of the sea. But then we did do a 10-day shoot on the real ocean, which you can't mimic those camera angles. But I'm just trying to imagine this ship and the kind of tracks it must have had on it for the cameras and the Steadicam technology that must have been needed to film at sea. So this movie probably cost a fortune. It's a gorgeous movie. A little more work should have been done in the script. And much like Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins, they sort of got away. They did something that now people get away with. Denis Villeneuve makes 1/3 of a movie and then blackmails you to go see it, or he won't finish the story.
Oh, Denis Villeneuve. I can't pronounce it. Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve.
Okay.
And by the way, it took me forever to figure this out. He's French Canadian, not French. But Denis Villeneuve will just roll out 1/3 of a movie like he did with Blade Runner. It's like, here's 1/3 of a story. If you see it twice, it'll make enough money for me to finish it. And it's like, well, you guys all let me down. It's your fault. You're not getting the rest of the story. I'm moving on to Dune. If Dune 2 doesn't do good, you get two-thirds of the story. Stop rewarding this man. I will not see any more Denis Villeneuve movies.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I do
Isn't
not
that
like going to a
that's
movie
extortion?
and not seeing a full movie. But the
Well,
thing
not only
about
that,
this
but
movie
how about
is it makes sense because it's a book and it's a series of books. So if you want to
it
learn
is
more about this movie, go read because there's tons of it out there.
because this is like the middle book. It starts and ends with adventure. I guess they're planning on just going forward. Who knows? There was supposed to be more movies from these people. And I mean, looking at this cast, looking at the work they put into it, looking at the magnificence of their ship, hard to say how they wouldn't have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
So
if they had made it to movie 2, they already had their ship, right? Like,
right, exactly.
movie 2 would not have cost them anywhere
Right.
near as much money. Yeah, they had a lot more children on this
But
ship
you
than
know
I
what? I don't
remembered.
really think they needed a second movie, even if they didn't finish the battle, because obviously, if they didn't, they won their battle. They didn't win the war, but that's fine because
They don't. That's
they can't go on
my,
for another hour or whatever.
my
So,
feeling was that they just like stopped the battle in the middle. Like, it's a lull in the battle. It had to continue. I don't know. That's why the movie's a B for me. Is it a great movie? Is there a lot to watch? Do I recommend it? Yes. Is it like an A+ story? It's so not. It really is one full grade level below.
I feel like it's an A- for me because I don't know anything about being a sailor, and this made me feel like I was one just watching it. In the 19th century, it takes me back in time. It seemed that old world was cool, and we're along for the ride, and that's okay. And even when
And
we
that,
get to the calm before the storm at the end of the movie, we know that we're in the hands of an amazing captain who is going to do the best to save his crew.
B+, A-. We're so very close. It's not even subjective. I would call this inside the margin of error. Yeah, we feel more or less the same way about this. To me, this would be an A+ movie if it had a proper ending, but instead, like, it's sequel bait. And me personally, when you make a movie this way and I go there and I see it, I felt extorted walking out of this to a degree. I felt extorted walking out of Blade Runner 2048 because it was like, here's 1/3 of your story.
Yeah, right. 2049, but yes, you're correct.
Sorry.
That did feel
So,
like that. All that
oh,
movie did was culminate to, "Oh, hey, we're going to rise up as replicants or whatever," but it
we had
never happens, and it's like,
of
whatever.
a few cool scenes, a few good stuff, things in it, and maybe that's why I felt so much more incomplete. You saw 2049, and I guess I saw 2048, right?
Mhm.
No, you know what? That I don't like his extortionist view of making movies because during the publicity tour,
Was
he
that what it
says,
was?
"Well, if people, yeah, during the publicity tour, he's like, yeah, well, I didn't finish the story because if people don't like it, I'm going to move on."
Well,
Fuck you.
100 it was only 150 million to make this movie, so that's pretty
But
good.
it was 23
100
years ago. So what is that adjusted for inflation? 230,
Oh, that's a
right?
good question.
And
Yeah,
what was the publicity budget?
well, you can't ask that question without me hitting the inflation calculator, so let's find
You
out.
go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculator. It'll tell you.
So
There's a
it's
calculator
in
from year to year.
2003
A movie
when we
costs
got
100 and
150 million.
I'm going to say $205 million now.
And so
Or
that
actually,
oh, okay.
the-
Yeah, 250 million would be today. So that's still
wow.
not that bad.
This is costing as much as as Doctor Strange 2, though.
Oh, really? Okay.
This is
And
blockbuster money. 250 million. Yeah, the only reason Indiana Jones admits to 300 million is because they botched shooting it on 250 million and had to shoot more.
and for I don't recall any
And
solo
I think
parts
it's
to this
higher.
movie. Every scene was a lot of fun to watch. There was always
Yes.
someone either doing something important to the operation of the ship or discussing something important. So that's why
Yes.
I love this movie. And it's great.
It's a movie. It's well
It's a
made.
movie.
It's got good performances. I like at the end of the Rise of Skywalker review. There's like a long pause. Like, so what did you think? I think it was a movie.
Well, I like to say that because that is if you ever talk to Carol's Carol, if you know Carol. That's
Yes.
how she describes lots of her movie reviews are. It's a movie.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
she's
like
my
maybe like
favorite.
that's something that maybe is kind of an expression for that. I don't know. I've heard it before, but I think like Red Letter Media, most famously, I think it was like at the end of Rise of Skywalker. They're like, "So what did you think?" And one guy just sat there for a minute, and the youngest one, not Mr. Plinkett, not Mike, the youngest guy, he sat there for a minute and he blinked. He's like, I think it was a movie.
Yeah,
Like,
but I want to talk a little bit about, before we have to go, Paul Bettany. There's a page here about him. Chameleon would, in a sense, be an insult. To call him a chameleon would be. I hate chameleons, he says with vehemence. I hate bugs. They're alive and they do their own thing and they frighten me. There was one in particular, a great big shiny blue thing that flies. It flew at me, so I screamed and ran off set. But Bettany
that
is
was
an actor of startling accomplishments who seems effortlessly to assume the reptilian gaze of the iguanas he loathes. They stink, to play the enigmatic Maturin.
now was Batani supposed to play Wolverine and got stuck doing Mission Impossible 2 for like way too long, right? Wasn't he the second choice? Because the Wolverine we got was like the third. Paul Bettany was tied up doing Mission Impossible 2, and the guy from Batwoman was like another choice. Batwoman's father, I forget the actor, Gray Scott.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I love how they describe the character of Stephen Maturin here, says Bettany, is one of the people who, if you put them in solitary confinement for months on end, they would come out exactly as they went in. He had so many personal resources. He's so self-contained that he could really live inside himself. And so I wanted to read that part of the book because that reminds me of the movie Shawshank Redemption, where the main character, he's put into solitary confinement and he plays records in his head, and they say, did they let you haul that record player in there? And no, he's self-contained too, kind of person. I was intrigued by O'Brien and the way he conducted himself in interviews. He seemed to be amused from within himself. You could see him chuckling inwardly. It didn't seem to matter whether other people got it or not. And Paul Bettany clearly got it. So that's pretty cool that he Oh, okay. So this character is based on the same is the author's self-insert, sort of.
Yeah,
Same.
it's not a. I guess it's not a direct self-insert because the author writes books and this guy's a doctor. But okay, yeah, the guy saw
Well,
himself
no,
as a
not
Renaissance man.
exactly. Yeah, not exactly like that, but you know what I mean.
But right, both
In
guys
terms
are
of
Renaissance
personality.
and Renaissance madness, right? He's a musician, he's a doctor, he's not really a sailor, but he's a sailor. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The doctor on this ship is a man for all seasons in a lot of ways, and he's really a great counterpart to the captain. And he's not really the executive officer. The only thing this movie needs is an outright Spock, and we're there.
Mhm. And that's the thing that Stephen is also Spock because he's the one who wants to explore the island and
Yeah,
do the
I agree.
research. And although Pullings in the book is not a gentleman, referring to his birth rather than his manners, he is, says Diarchy, a really nice guy, and he's really well respected, not complicated. You know that he adds, in my view, is that they weren't complicated men. They didn't have enough time to think about themselves. It's a bit like being here, actually. You're a bit disjointed from your own life, which uncomplicates things very quickly. We all have friends, relationships, bank statements, and so on, but not here. It's exactly like going out to sea for 6 months. So apparently, acting in this movie was, in some sense, oh, they kind of really did feel like the sailors that they were playing, and that's perfect. Of the ship, Ingleby says, when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's going to be our home for the next however many months, and it would have been the same for the sailors. That's their England. Learning about the elements of this floating city is fascinating. Reading about the floggings, crimes, and people's duties, you really wanted to know about people's characters and what they did. What would the captain think about this? Ingleby reveals that his grandfather was on the HMS Belfast in the British Navy during World War II and told him that it was just the same. It never stops. You sleep, you work, you sleep. That's it. These men worked really hard.
That's why my hat's off to people like our pal JRCC99US, who is also in our nation's Navy on active duty. What a great guy. He's in chats a lot. He's back on land now, but gosh knows he has a lot to do. I didn't see him in the chat, but he could show up.
Yeah, definitely. Don Ranger Powers here. Hello. Great to see
Hello,
you.
Donnie. It's great to see you. I hope you're well today.
Yeah.
Donnie Pearson is the nicest wrench in anybody's chat. He always wants to know how you're doing and cares about everybody. It's just so nice to see Donnie Pearson.
Donnie is a true gentleman. And alliteration accompanies Billy Boyd on set. He plays Coxswain Barrett Bondon. Bondon's been with Captain Aubrey basically all his life. He's been at sea all his life. And when they go to shore, he's Aubrey's servant. So he's always with him.
And alliteration will go even further when he becomes Admiral Aubrey. Admiral Aubrey never bothered to check on our progress. By the way, these islands that they're going to, this is the basis for Wrath of Khan. This is the basis for a piece of the action, that you would go to these islands and they would be blown away by the technology and culture shock, and you would start a cargo cult like they do in a piece of the action.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Makes sense.
There's so many Star Trek elements to this exciting and fun movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's what made it so much fun. And you just have to see it to experience it. You're like, yes, this is Star Trek. And I've only experienced that with other movies, like submarine movies typically make you feel like you're watching Star Trek too.
There's Roland Emmerich's Midway and Midway 1 are Star Trek-ish, but I guess, yeah,
Red
you're
October?
right. Red October, and honestly, Troy starts to feel really Star Trek-y in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a typical Explorer kind of thing. It's a different Star Trek vibe, but yeah, it does feel like Star Trek in the middle. Troy with Brad Pitt and Eric Bana.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely look into movies. I'm sure there's a list out there. Naval movies that feel like Star Trek.
One, I believe it's Wolfgang Peterson did write some Star Trek scripts though. That's why right? Didn't he write a couple of stories for Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Well, when you're asking me questions, who wrote The Next Generation?
I believe the Troy screenwriter wrote a script or two for Next Generation as well.
What's his name?
Isn't it it's the Das Boot guy, Wolfgang Peterson?
Wolfgang Peterson. Let's see.
I think the Peterson was S-E-N. Don't quote me.
I don't know.
Probably autofill. If you go Wolfgang Pete, it'll probably finish it. It's like because I think we had Wolfgang Peterson.
I don't see any Star Trek here, but he did make Troy. He was a director for Troy and The Perfect Storm, Poseidon. Oh wow, he really does like his. He really does.
His naval movies.
His Navy movies. Too bad
Perfect
he didn't
Storm's
do Star
a
Trek.
great
He would have been
movie.
a perfect Star Trek writer.
I feel like he was like a script consultant
or director,
something.
Rather,
but,
he's a director. Excuse me.
We'll dive deeper into it. I could. I'll dive deeper into it later.
Wait a minute, writer.
On that one.
No, you might be right. No, okay, no, I don't see any Star Trek here.
I think if we look.
However, he wrote the screenplay for The Never-Ending Story.
You know what? I was very upset because that movie's been over for like 38 years, and they said it was never ending. And when they said, you have to leave so the next showing can start, I was like, hey, never ending story means never ending story. It's the same problem with my forever pasta card from Olive Garden. Free pasta for life means free pasta for life.
Yeah. I'm gonna finish off by reading a bit more about Billy Boyd because I do have to go soon. Man, I just got to the interesting part of this book. I should have started here. Playing a character who was literally born at sea, Boyd imbibed all the research, including the grog. These guys were drunk a lot of the time. They had their ration of grog, rum and water, every day. Then, laughing, Boyd recalls a night prior to filming. Peter had made some grog to the actual recipe of the time, so we all sat around having dinner, getting slowly drunk on grog, just to see what it was like. I wonder if that explains some of the courage from those battles. And so, yeah. And then they talk about some of the
It does. By the way, it does.
Mhm.
It was called Dutch Courage. It was booze. The term originated from the Battle of Waterloo, baby. And the thing is, the British soldiers love drinking gin. So that was Dutch Courage. So anytime you drink before battle, they're like, you want a little Dutch Courage?
Yeah. Oh, I guess I can't end this live stream without talking a little bit about Russell Crowe's performance up
It was
there.
excellent.
Yeah, he was. I thought so. Some people said he was underplayed, I heard earlier, but I didn't think so. I think that it showed a strength
Too
to
much
and
enthusiasm would have
control.
just too much enthusiasm would have blown this role to pieces. Imagine Captain Kirk dialed up 2 more notches on Wrath of Khan. It wouldn't have worked. He had to be the way he was. And the only objective problem I had with the movie was they're able to bake this amazing cake in the shape of the islands while they're at sea under all this privation. We just hear how life sucks, and then they make this awesome cake.
Well, I don't know how awesome it is. It's blood pudding, so ew.
They liked
Um,
it, but yeah, you're right.
I but
I
Russell Crowe
forgot that
says,
detail.
well, just look at the thing. It's like, what is that? That looks like blood pudding. And yeah, I looked at pictures.
British,
It's the same. Yeah.
as an American of British ancestry in some parts, I'm just going to say British people not known for their great food. Love you all, known for your great taste in TV and the
Well,
internet. But
they make it taste good when you go to Harry Potter, the Wizarding World, and Universal Studios. You can have we had both a British breakfast and an American, and it was some good stuff.
everybody, go ahead and Google "How Wizards Poop" by J.K. Rowling. She tweeted about 5 tweets on that. She was very clear about how it happens. It's funny as hell. She got it. No, she's serious.
Well,
She's deadly serious. It's funny as hell.
well, that was only up to a certain point. That was when the school was made. They
Right.
did magically get rid of their poop. They did it that way. But
But where does the poop go?
but at a certain point, well, matter is neither created nor destroyed, so it has to go somewhere.
Now,
So
my
even if
belief
you
is that it goes to the new Trek writers' brains.
but this wasn't something that happened for all time. Eventually, they
They
got
got
with the
Muggle
program
plumbing.
and they got Muggle plumbing, yes, and that's how we have Moaning Myrtle and the bathrooms and everything. So they finally figured out that it's kind of weird to do it the way they were doing
To
it.
magically, and can I just say, if I was a villain in the Harry Potter world and you fucked with me, I would send you to that poop dimension, so you just like drowning and swimming around in thousands of years of wizard poop.
I'm really surprised more wizards didn't use that in battle.
How do we know they didn't? Right? It's like, where's he now? Don't worry. It's like the poop dimension. It's like when you're there, like the first thing you see is Michael Burnham, and then you keep falling through fire into a big pool of poop. And when you come up, it's Strange New Worlds playing on the ceiling.
I
You can either hide
suppose.
in the poop or
Why
watch
not?
New Trek. It's a terrible place. Why would it have good entertainment? Like, we don't watch Paths of Glory in the poop dimension, do we?
Well, what? I don't know.
Well, where would they wish the poop away to? I'm referring to as the poop dimension.
Well,
Others,
there's
you can Google it too. People
this
have talked about it
well,
extensively.
this is just something that she came up with. It probably was
I
on her
think the
mind
story
before, but these are
started
just
with it.
her extra notes, and this wasn't in any of the books.
No, but she decided to tweet it out one day on June 21st
Mhm.
because that's the day the Harry Potter books are always released. It's the summer solstice.
Yeah. And Donnie says, I love The Enemy Below, and I love that score for the movie adaptation. And Star Trek was Hornblower in space, and Hornblower books were a predecessor to the Aubrey books.
He's correct. By the way, I'll just say Ethan Peck, Spork, grandson of Gregory Peck, who was Hornblower. Gregory Peck is rolling in his grave almost as fast as Gene Roddenberry. That show is so bad.
Ugh. Yeah. Jack isn't just a ship's captain, and Russell Crowe isn't just a Hollywood star. As Chris Larkin put it, I don't think calling him a classic leading man does Russell justice, because it just infers good looks and Hollywood things like that. It's not about that. It's something deeper. Nelson was a skinny little guy. Okay.
I take issue with the idea that Russell Crowe has good looks. Maybe he's handsome in a rugged way, but he is in no way handsome.
Yeah, I'm just reading.
I would
from the
rather
book.
wake up. Could I wake up tomorrow looking just like I do now, rather than like handsome Russell Crowe, built like a bull, huge mole in the like many huge moles, gin blossoms from drinking, never combs or washes his hair. The guy's a soap dodger, great actor, but he's a kooky soap dodger
Ew.
who'll beat you up with a phone. Him and
Okay.
Brad Pitt they both look like they could use a shower all the time. And they make good movies. I'm just saying, soap dodgers.
Well, yeah, that sounds gross. Crow adopted that attitude before filming again. During boot camp, he was basically Jack Aubrey. In a way, you have to be. In this type of movie, you want a certain rhythm and hierarchy established because that's what it's all about. Yet Crow gives the greatest credit for that to Peter Weir. If you don't have someone like Peter who always allows you to be imaginative in your role as a supposed leader, then you don't get the opportunity to do these things.
You know, if you want to see a sailor who's too pretty to be a sailor, check out Bounty with Mel Gibson and Liam Neeson and Anthony Hopkins. Mel Gibson just doesn't look the role. The movie's okay, but it never really takes flight because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Russell
And
Crowe
this
is
guy,
sort of.
and he looks like a sailor here.
That's what I wanted to say. Maybe like I'm not like while not ugly, he's certainly not, James Bond kind of handsome. So maybe like sort of like the beat on rugged, I drink too much good looks of Russell Crowe kind of were perfect for this sort of movie.
Exactly. So with that, I've got to go. I would hang around and try to read through some of more of this book because this book is really cool. I could have a lot of fun just scrolling around in it, and I have for a few hours. So if you want to read more of this book, check it out. I will go to the first page and share it with you here. It is really neat.
Jill, this was an incredible movie story. I don't know. I mean, if I should be so bold, perhaps there's enough of this for a part 2 next week on this one. If you say there's a lot left to
Well,
do, and
no,
look at
I
that price.
probably
You can't beat that price.
right, $1 for this book. In 2015, somebody bought this book. The Making of Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, the official guide. So this is the official guide to the major motion picture. So I picked a great book, Tom McGregor. And yes, there's lots of great stuff in this book. And of course, inspiration. Anytime I decide to look for a book to read from, it is inspired by the Cloudburn Times channel, Raquel Briggs, who I first saw reading books about Star Trek. And so books are really the best way to go about this kind of information because you never know what kind of information you're going to get from the internet. And I enjoyed skimming through this one. And if if you love this movie, you're interested in it, check out this book on the archive.org. It's free. And now I can return it.
Good and amazing comment by Snorty. The crew got grog. The officers got themselves soused on wine. If they could afford it, port, claret, and Madeira particularly. Grog is water and rum, I'm pretty sure. Although there's probably other formulas in other navies.
Yeah, it's too bad that Scotty R37 left because he's quite the bartender. It would have been fun to.
This is a drink that no one has had. You might have to be a bartender in England. I think the only time I've heard this used in a modern sense was the drummer from Black Sabbath got thrown out because he drank too much grog and he was drinking actual grog.
Wow, and people actually drink grog. It's hilarious.
But yeah, well, at least Bill Ward did from Black Sabbath.
Definitely. And so I want to thank everybody for being here. We had a lot of great people here. My chat is always awesome. We had Snortopoopas, Q Bird, Donnie, Mark Harkness, and lots of really great people here. Tony from Strike of Iron, Mr. Angel was an incredible contributor to the discussion today. I can't thank you enough for being here, Mr. Angel. And I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. And you're a guardian angel to all of us when you spread your wings to protect us. Thank you, sir.
And the Goat Father and Jim's Landscape.
Darius
Munchausen, Dalek 451. Oh no, I missed a chat from Captain Infinity. Baseball is based on cricket and rounders.
You would like to say that if you didn't know what you were talking about, but we don't know that for fact. Baseball was played first in a documented way. The first professional sports teams are American teams, and if you want to prove that point, you're going to have to show me proof of cricket before 1610 or 1492. Come now.
Yeah, that is great. Well, good morning to Captain.
It's a reverse import back to Europe. Most people know that. And
Matt G was also here. And Herc 130.
Hail the great Matt G.
Oh yeah, Matt G is incredible, and as is Gorilla's Random Thoughts and Joe Lamont, who ask a question which plays into you promoting your channel. Since I do have to leave, so please let us know why watch these shows in the first place. So many other good things to watch.
Well, the reason
Tell
you
us
should
about
watch
them.
A Master and Commander is because it's a great movie. It's a little long. It's not perfect, but it is a solid B, and you'll enjoy it. It's immersive. You might need 2 nights to watch it, but it's still fun. It's time well spent. And I am Admiral Teague, and I am saving Star Trek. New Trek is over, my friends. Tonight, we're going to go back to good stuff and good movies. I don't know what I'm going to do. Hunt for Red October watch party, maybe. There's been a poll on Twitter. Take part in that. And I'll be on a little later on today, maybe about a half hour from now. I need enough time to splash some water in my face and scarf down a turkey club while I get my gang together for my show. But thank you for
Yeah, that'd
having
be
me
great.
on.
Definitely check out that channel and have a lot of fun. Well, Joe Lamont was not referring to the movie. He was referring to when you were talking about Strange New Worlds. Why watch it in the
Strange New
first place?
Worlds is a show that you should not watch. You should listen to my coverage of it, and then you get to see it for free while I do it. I provide that for you. And then we describe why and how it's a travesty to Star Trek, or how it's been a triumph. We're still waiting for the triumphant review. We're still waiting. If you want triumphant New Trek reviews, there's a guy named Robert Meyer Burnett. Loves it all. Loves it all.
Oh no, that's
Nerd
not
Feed.
true. He actually doesn't like any of it except for Star Trek Picard season 3. Even though I do not like that. I do not like
All right,
any New
so
Trek.
let's just say
But
Robert Meyer
that's the only
Burnett,
one he likes.
free to play, pay to win on Robert Meyer Burnett endorsements. But that's
Oh,
the way I see that one.
Please don't do that.
Well, inconsistent.
Pop culture curator was also here. Thank you for being here. And Canadian Spider-Man also. And James Caserta.
I don't understand. But see, the thing is, Picard was just as bad as Strange New
Oh
Worlds.
yeah,
so
I
there's no
agree
reason.
completely. Yeah,
Right.
Picard
So,
was awful.
so
I
I
don't
just
really
wonder.
understand. But
How about I put it this way? I don't know where that pundit is coming from on that take, because it would seem like if you liked one, what would be wrong with the other? They were equally fucking stupid.
yeah, I know they were, but there was a certain, for some reason, the nostalgia bait worked for a lot of people, and they couldn't see through it. That was
Can
the
I just
unfortunate
say,
aspect of that.
I don't know why a 20th century filmmaker who's just an editor and a producer now and a YouTuber like anyone else, I don't know why they're supposedly getting the last word on Star Trek. I don't know what makes them an authority.
He's just giving his opinions. You don't have to
Right.
take them.
That's
what we're all doing.
You and I are agreeing on this one. He's just another opinionator. He's just another Star Trek pundit. He's not anything special, and he doesn't represent Star Trek. He represents himself, as do I. Nothing wrong with
exactly.
it. Fair is fair. I'm not taking anything away from him, and we're tied for movies made in the 21st century. Maybe that'll change one day.
And I'm glad Pop Culture Curator was here, because I'll play the video for him that is from Robert Meyer Burnett's movie Free Enterprise, and I love Free Enterprise, and I think this clip is funny.
I would never live in the 24th century. I fucking hate the next generation. Only the original series, only classic.
I wish I had that in common. He made a movie in the 20th century like Thomas Edison. Way to go.
Well,
that was a good movie, though. It was a good movie.
He actually doesn't
fun.
think that, but it's just a fun quote from the movie.
Yeah,
he doesn't actually believe that.
I don't even think I have a penny for his thoughts.
But Pop Culture Curator actually believes that, so I play that for him.
Oh, I thought you meant so I thought you meant the pundit. A Pop Culture Curator, of course, a mighty warrior in pop culture.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's why I play that clip, because the false opinion that was put in the movie for him is actually a real opinion. So
that was everybody's opinion. For honestly, that is accurate to like the middle of TNG. It took to about season 3 and 4 before people started to accept it. They would watch it, and they weren't hate watching it. They were just like, he's no Kirk, he's not that cool, and this like regard for Picard doesn't come out. That was an intentional rhyme.
They took away one of the funnest things, was having the captain on the way missions, and they stuck the captain on the bridge. And so
they changed their mind on that pretty quick. Once Picard starts wearing once he starts wearing his sporty Picard jackets, he's on those planets all the time. Human
That's true.
Talkins, if you must shoot me with your arrow, my
and that's when
mechanical
it got
heart
better,
will save
too.
my life. It did, and also we love Denise Crosby, but she was right to leave the show because there were too many people. And when she comes back, wow, what a comeback!
Yeah, that was a good comeback, but I don't know.
Sort of the opposite of when Tess comes back.
She misrepresented herself on that role. She was a lot more badass and important to the ship than even she realized. And I think nowadays she realizes how cool she was when she was even before her comeback, because she was put up as she would have gotten.
Well, she was
a
an
whole lot
idol.
more
She was a standout cast member and just didn't realize it. She was like kind of like a hero to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Tasha
she
Yar.
was,
People loved her, and I thought she was hot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice to see her back in The Walking Dead.
I do have to dash. I have to go. I keep saying I have to go, but now I really have to go. So it was so much fun talking to you, Admiral Teague, and check out his channel later. Check out Pop Culture Curator's channel this week. He's going to have on Monday, he has Lost in Space reviews, of which I'm a part of. Then on Tuesday, he's going to talk about Metropolis, a very classic science fiction film, silent film. But don't let that fool you. It is supposed to be really, really awesome. I'm going to watch it soon, and I'll report back. And on Friday,
have you made it to John?
On Tuesday. Also on Tuesday, I will have a review of Obsession featuring Hungry Boy. Hungry Boy will be there for that review, and it'll be super cool.
I can't wait to hear that.
And
have you made it up to Lost in Space with the music of a wonderful human being who'd never sue anybody, Johnny Williams?
We're only we're only on season 1.
It's the end, right?
Oh, yeah.
So later on, you're getting there.
Actually, didn't he do?
Don't worry, people. The show still stays terrible.
Okay, so we're doing production information on a different show, so you're gonna have to look up the production notes on Lost in Space music on your own, because I do have to leave.
There we go. He wasn't the first guy.
Yeah. So definitely check out everybody who's live right now on the internet, and check out all of our friends. And today, especially Retro Nerd Girl right now she's continuing her discussion on Terminator, Fixing the Franchise, Part 2 discussion. And Retro Nerd Girl is one of the coolest people on YouTube, so definitely check her out. She has some great reviews on science fiction. And right now she's doing some theories about that franchise and how they could have done better after the second installment of that movie. And so there we go. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for playing. I'll see you around. Have a great Friday. And check out Friday Night Frolics on Doomcock's channel.
You know, I really wish they'd let us play music up here. Make these long trips go by a lot faster.
It's against regulations.
Yeah, I never understood that.
They just don't want us having a dance party when a proximity alert goes off.
See, that's a dumb reason. Because we'd already be on our feet, ready for action.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
Oh, and I also forgot I'm going to play the preview for Obsession, since it'll be my next show.
Captain's log, stardate 3619.2. With the mysterious death of 2 crewmen, all personnel on the planet have been evacuated back to the ship.
Rizzo, did you feel a presence, an intelligence? There's an intelligence about it, Bones. It must be destroyed.
Fire photon torpedoes.
It's still coming, sir.
The deflectors will not stop it, Captain.
Contact.
Enter ruler.
All hatches remain secure. All lights on the board show green. Sir, we have a red light.
Something's entered through the number 2 impulse vent.
Sir, the creature's in my cabin. It's got Mr. Spock.
Captain, look. It's going to be close. Very, very close.